All right. All right. Greetings, everybody. It's Max. We're here. We got Jack. We're back, and we're gonna do talk about the Mark of the Beast and the Mark of the Beast stuff that has been happening. People always want to make a big deal out of pretty much any new thing that comes around and proclaim it to be the Mark of the Beast. And if you take this, you're damned, and you watch out for that, and all these different things. And so we're going to talk about that now. Jack, you're a little bit older than I, and did the UPC barcode? I know that was one of the first ones. Um,
Hold on one second, Max. I'm sorry about that. More technical difficulties as
no,
usual.
it's not technical difficulty. It's just you want to keep an eye on chat, and you got the page not muted. Well, now you muted yourself, it looks like.
What?
No, you didn't. You didn't. You're all
I
right.
have my phone connected as well, so I could look at chats, but I figured out how to do this actually on the PC, so I'm going to get rid of the phone real quick, and we're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, my childhood was kind of like 80s, and then into a teenager in the 90s and stuff like that. And you're probably a decade earlier. Was that when the barcode came out?
Roughly, yeah. Early to mid 70s.
Yeah, and people were like way bigger into church back then. Was that like the hot topic?
Actually, it was.
Really?
Yes, I do remember a sermon about that when I was about 8 or 9.
They tell anybody who bought anything with the UPC they were damning themselves to hell?
No, the particular congregation that I was involved in at the time, it wasn't so much fear mongering then. It was more or less to let people be apprised of what was going on and what we're discussing tonight. This one gentleman back in the day, he was very level headed, and he was just a sharp guy. He just said, "Look, this is not the mark, but it's basically what you said the other night. It's a baby step. It's conditioning."
Well, can you buy and sell stuff that doesn't have a UPC code on it anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even fruit has a sticker on it, right?
Right. But does that have that holographic image of a beast that you have to bow down to? No.
Right.
Just baby steps. But he, more or less, again, he was putting it into a spiritual light. That, of course, is cause and effect of what takes place in the physical.
Well, Jack, now come on. It's total coincidence that they begin the barcode with a 6, and then they have a 6 in the middle, and then they end the barcode with a 6, right? It's coincidence.
Sure it is. Like www.com. You look up those letters at 666, so it's all around you, like you say.
That's coincidence, man.
Well, back to the spiritual aspect, though. Is that not the mark of the beast itself? How visible can it be?
You don't have to look very hard to find a new mark, do you?
No, you don't.
It's the question of whether or not it is the actual mark of the beast, and it seems like there's a couple of prerequisites for stuff like that. And it's like, okay, if the UPC barcode is the mark of the beast, then where's Satan at? where's the Antichrist?
That's it, exactly. What are you looking for?
You can't have a mark of the beast without one world everything.
Sure. And that's back to my original point. The mark of the beast, is that an ideology? Is it a physical thing? Sure, it's both. It's a spiritual issue, though, first and foremost. That's back to Ephesians 6:12. That's how I perceive things. Chad in his video did mention that. What are you people looking for? Satan, some guy in an outfit with a pitchfork? No, I mean, let's not berate each other with that. Most people are not that ignorant.
Yeah.
It's volition. It comes down to free will. That's never taken out of the equation. The lost person's going to get right in line. Those who come to Christ who are left behind, whatever someone's position is on that, he's going to protect that person. Or when you come to Christ, you're going to lose your life for your testimony. That's it. But again, I agree with you. The church will not be here. So many people these days attack the pre-trib. It's unbelievable. That's one of the major things that I see now and have for the past 10 years. Because people so desperately like salvation, we have to find a way to earn it. I got to prove myself. I've got to endure to the end. Look at me.
And I don't understand how they could even hold to a doctrine like that, where it's like, okay, so you can't earn your salvation right this second, but all of a sudden in the tribulation you can, and you have to be purified for some reason. And it's like, wouldn't the obvious thing to do would be find a way to off yourself when you know the tribulation starts?
Exactly. I've actually had that conversation before years ago. I'm like, look, dude, just find a gun and end it. There you go.
There you go. No mark
Okay.
of the beast. Don't have to worry about it. And that just
You got
seems, that doesn't seem like a very good system. I just don't. I don't know. It's just. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of denominations out there who really like their works, and I guess they can't even justify them. It's.
Well, there you go. Because it's all in vain, right? Unless it's led by the Holy Spirit. And that's where the self-righteous movement comes in. And that's just how crafty Satan is, because most people are just making money, filthy lucre off of this mark of the beast. Always have, always will.
Well, I got John MacArthur out there who says I can take the mark and go to heaven.
Oh, please. My best friends are that they bow to his altar, man. I've tried with him. Oh, yeah.
I never even knew that guy was from Minnesota. That's
yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
I followed him back in the day too, like a lot of us did, learned a few things from him. Again, the Lord uses people, but so does Satan. And that's where discernment comes in,
So as far as the mark, we got the UPC code. What else we got that came up? Did anyone complain about the internet, or everyone just really liked it?
Yes, they did. That was a huge thing for quite a while during Y2K. That actually
Really?
came. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't remember that because I was pretty hip to Y2K. And people
it
were
was all
saying
in the
that,
chat rooms, man. It was people were just, oh my God, do you know your Greek? Which one? That's what I asked them.
so I'd imagine there was a lot of a Jesus second coming or something, right?
Yeah, or second 2.5 or 3. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
The Antichrist will be unveiled or something.
Sure.
I wasn't into all that. I was more into the Zach Sitchin and all those people. I was still waiting for, what is that, Nibiru to show up? Yeah,
That's
what I
it.
was doing in 2000.
Planet X, you got it. Right along with the ufology stuff, right along with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the government's big on that now. They want to push that again, apparently.
Well, sure they do. What was we talking about earlier? About misdirection, smoke and mirrors?
Oh, yeah.
There's
They've been leaving that one alone since the, late 90s.
Sure.
Well, with the exception of Ancient Aliens or whatever on History Channel.
Oh, please. Fun to watch, but it's full of buffoonery, as I say, and it is. Because those guys obviously have an agenda. What's the old meme that used to go around years ago? It's like, oh, the PSYOP is the PSYOP. So it's about misdirection. It's about confusion. And God's not about confusion. That's why we have to stick with the word. Everything else outside of that is pure conjecture.
Telling people that aliens exist and all that kind of lends credence to their space program too. So
you better believe it.
They can make up whatever they want.
You got it.
Mysterious alien transmissions from Mars. There's a face on Mars and blah, blah, blah.
Well, again, like we've discussed, you look into the origination of the OSI back in my dad's day and what he used to tell me. And that led me down that road of studying NASA. Never a straight answer is an acronym, and I get it. It's a facade.
I've never actually heard that before.
What? Really?
No,
wow,
perfect,
man.
though.
Okay, well, that's true. It's all misdirection. It's like Wizard of Oz, the guy pulling the levers, he's behind the scenes, That's Satan. Everything in this world is obviously a planned thing. And yes, most things are based on conspiracies, because if you're a Christian, depending on your walk and how you perceive things, that's the key. We've discussed this at length. You don't have to know anything about none of this.
Yeah.
But truth is truth. I'm not a truther. I seek truth. And at any cost, it doesn't matter to me, but that's my mindset. It's a hobby. It's very addictive, but I've been down that road. I've drank all the different flavors of Kool-Aid, and I tell you, it really tastes great.
Yeah. I think people fail to realize that Satan's the god of this world, and the Bible says that. So when people say, "Oh, they wouldn't do that," "Oh, the government's not," it's not bad. It's like, do you look around a little bit and understand you're in the beast system? And all of those things, when people say we're in the end times, it's you can point to a verse in the Bible about what's supposed to be going on right now, and you go, oh yeah, that just happened yesterday, that's been going on for a while, this is what's coming next, and yeah, you go right down through the list.
Okay, real quick. Excuse me. Side note, you just led me into a segue when you said looking up. I'm just going to let everybody know in the community. I've been on the fence. It's funny. It's very funny. I put up a wall as far as searching for truth, and I've always taken pride in being that guy of searching, for truth and being intellectually honest with it. As far as the shape of the earth, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, but what matters is truth. And again, we talked about this before. I've known a lot of people come to the Lord for studying particular issues, especially that one. And I have observed a lot of things in the physical as of late to really change my mind on that perspective. I think I've known it. Oh, yeah. Here it comes.
I've known it. Coming out of the closet.
Sure. Because to me, it was the last rabbit hole that I refused. And then I had to just tell myself, it was like, Jimmy, what are you doing? You know all this stuff. You studied this crap. They've lied to you about everything. But, they're going to stop at that? Really?
As they tell you they played golf on the moon.
Exactly. I mean, smoke and mirrors. It's all designed to hide the truth of God in the physical. But we go by faith, not by sight. I get that. But there's that one passage in Scripture where a lot of people on that day will say, well, Lord, hey, you didn't tell me. I didn't know. Sure you did. Just in nature's design alone. That proves my existence. That's in Romans. So there you go. But hey, yes, I'm a flat earther.
Woohoo.
That's it. Totally convinced. I knew it for a while, but I fought it tooth and nail.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, when I kind of rolled into that, I think it was somebody on Modern Day Debate or something. All of those guys and all their flat earth debates, they always present the exact same information the flat earth people do. Yep. And it's completely irrefutable. Absolutely, completely irrefutable. And I watch one of those and I'm like, wait a second. He's right. And I'm like, I'm still not there, not here. I listened to a couple more debates and read some more things. And I'm like, I think I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure the earth is flat. I'm like, I have a couple of holdouts, about, well, I can't really explain this and can't really explain that. But, if you can't refute the just a few key points and you look at the other side of the NASA side and all this other side, they don't have anything to make their arguments work.
That's
like how does an eclipse work where the shadow of the moon is only 70 miles across, but the moon's like 1,500 miles across? How does that work? Huh?
It doesn't.
Right. And you've got the sun and the moon up in the sky at the same time, but it's apparently the phases of the moon are caused somehow like that. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
There's too much. And it's like once you come to that conclusion, you actually accept it. You're actually open yourself up to all truth everywhere, understanding that, a lot of deception out there.
Bingo.
And it's pretty hard to get fooled once you're at that point.
You got it.
And myself, been more or less a flat earther for a year, probably even a little longer now. But now it's like looking back, I'm like, how in the world do people even believe this?
It's so back to magic. It's back to sorcery.
Do you know they're pretending to fly helicopters on Mars? They're pretending to fly helicopters on Mars.
You didn't know that there was a secret space program, and there's actually been men on Mars for years.
Oh, right. And the ancient alien treaty, man. Ancient alien treaty.
You got it. I can talk about this stuff forever, just like you can, because I used to study it most of my life.
Yeah.
And, I believed it.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's a good fairy tale fantasy tale.
Sure it is.
And if you watch too much Star Trek, it's easy to believe.
You got it. Because I wanted to believe, just like
exactly.
Spooky Mulder used to say, I want to believe. Okay, be careful of that.
Yep.
So, yes, again, real quick story. I showed somebody at work a couple of videos yesterday, and the man started crying.
Yeah.
Yes.
About flat earth videos.
Oh, yeah. Because, look, I've known this gentleman for almost 4 years. And we have deep talks. He knows where I stand on a lot of things. And he's fairly like-minded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's getting there. I really struck a fire with him about 3 years ago, and he started studying. And I've tried to help him along, but he's born again. That was the first and foremost thing. And he was as a child too, no doubt. But when I showed him these things, he finally asked, and I said, look, here's a perfect example. I showed him 2 clips, and he just looked at me, and he was just, he couldn't say anything. He was speechless.
Mm-hmm.
You could see the facade, it's just like a mirror breaking in his eyes. And he started tearing up. And I said, see, there you go. I said, let God's word be true, man.
Yeah. And it's a giant step for just about everybody.
You better believe it, because the
And even,
magic spell is so hard to break on anything. Sorcery didn't stop back in the Old Testament. I mean, most of us get that. It's active. Again, you just said it, Max, a few minutes ago. Satan is the god, little g, of this world. And he has certain abilities. I get it.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me how, I mean, people must have to want to believe it that badly in order to believe it.
Well, indoctrination is so strong, and you know that.
Oh, well, the stuff about like NASA and all of that, sure. Because I mean, obviously all of your major lies, you have to teach it to them in grade school.
Sure.
Because if you teach them to them in high school, they'll laugh at you.
You better believe it.
And like I can, with the boomer generation, they have
Be careful.
I know they have the rocket launches on television that everyone, gets to feel good about the country, and that's part of their,
you better believe it,
their mind control DARPA programming.
Right.
And my generation, I don't know what they had for you for trauma, but ours was blowing up the Challenger, seeing, look how dangerous it is.
That's it.
They wheeled in the TV.
Yeah,
wheeled in the TV, and I think I was like in 3rd grade or something, and everyone had to watch the thing blow up. And it's like, we never watched a launch. We never watched anything like that on television before. It was that one day. So, it was a complete hoax.
Well, come to find out, based on that particular incident, it's been proven, at least to my satisfaction, that all those people are still alive.
Yeah, so, they're all on Facebook.
You got it. And yeah, again, the system laughs at us constantly.
Yeah. But the whole point of that whole thing, every school to wheel out the old television, to make sure all the kids get good and traumatized.
Yeah, we'll get them while they're young.
Whereas the generation before, it was wheel out the televisions to make sure everyone gets to go rah rah sis boom bah.
Well, my father used to call it the idiot box for a particular reason.
Yeah,
he knew it. Dad was pretty dialed in individual for somebody at his age, coming from God and country, the Captain America era. But him being involved in what he was involved in, he got dialed in real quick.
Yeah.
About JPL, Jack Parsons. Dad tripped me out later on in life. It's like, okay, look what I know. And it's like I told you, when Dad got diagnosed with cancer, we had maybe 6 months, to shoot it around. And we had the best conversations I've ever had with people, man.
You're all comparing notes.
Mind. What's that?
You're all comparing notes.
Yeah. But just to see, there's your dad, and you have a certain mindset, and it's like, what did you just say? Mm-hmm. He said, son, if you only knew.
Yeah.
He said, just keep living, trust in the Lord. He said, don't worry about things. He said, but if you start looking into stuff, he said, you wouldn't believe it.
He must be from the silent generation, huh?
You got it.
Yeah, so is my dad.
Yep.
It's like, the only way you're going to get anything out of them is just by watching them.
That's it, man.
That's how you do that. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You got it. And, again, it's like at a certain age or level that we're on in our walk, or just anyone in life, it's like, it's overkill. It's baby steps. You have to be careful about what you disseminate and with who and how much, because it's well,
yeah, I mean,
it's a lot. It's heavy.
Well, with the flat earth thing, people are going to go, haha, flat earth, this and that. But if they actually, came to that in their own mind, where they actually understood it and believed it, it's pretty serious ramifications for most people, and that's the people's protection mechanism goes up and their brain blocks that, and it's like that's fine because it's not really that important other than to show that everything really is the mystery systems, mystery Babylon, and mind control kind of garbage just all around everywhere. And it's
Sure.
not like, oh well, you can trust them, they're a doctor, they don't have any,
Right.
it's like,
Those professors be
no.
wise.
If you were trying to deceive people, wouldn't you want to be in a position that, people would be a respected position so you could deceive people better? Isn't
Sure.
that kind of the idea of what you want to do there? And yeah. And I don't know how long that's really all been going on. It seems like we're
Since day
we
one.
well, right, it's been going on since day one, but obviously since World War II, you have the military industrial complex type thing going.
Right.
And rolling in sort of the beast system. And because America won World War II, I guess we're the police force for the New World Order now.
That's
But
it.
ever since then, it's been a steady decay of, okay, we're going to have the social New World Order going with what they have going on with Social Security, Medicare, and welfare systems. And then they're going to have the food industrial complex. They're going to have the medical industrial complex, and industrial complex after industrial complex, and it's just been steamrolled like the last 20 years, 15 years. Medical industrial complex was coming in when I was working in it in early 2000s, where they're trying to do all the medical EMR systems, make everything electronic.
Yep.
so we can have one doctor somewhere make a call, and then some little underling all the way across the country can fulfill what the computer says. That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
And it's like, man, we don't have much room for any more industrial complexes, but I'm sure they'll find a way.
Well, they will.
Yeah.
It's what, transhumanism? That's the big word of the day.
Well, that becomes a joke when you realize that, the technology that they say they have doesn't exactly match up with what they actually have.
Well, as far as we know, I don't know, Max. I really don't. I don't know how much of that's actually just conditioning. I think that's primarily most of it. What really goes on behind closed doors, I'm sure they have advanced things in certain fields. There's no doubt about that in my mind, just from conversations and study through my life. But what have we seen? They say one thing, but what do we see?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they landed a golf cart on the moon, so I mean, they could be doing anything.
It's so easily to dismantle the whole thing.
Well, there's not only that, but nuclear weapons and nuclear power, and there's radiation really doesn't exist, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's like all a lie. So, and that all comes from their tech stuff. And what the reality of the situation is, you got to kind of have to go back to Nikola Tesla, and where he's getting power, like energy crisis, right? He's getting power from the rotation of the stars in the ether.
You got it. Well, magnetics is something I have a background in, almost a degree in. So I understand that. And you know what? That's something else that kind of led me to the data points of saying rotation, atoms, okay, flat Earth, the crust, molten core. Okay, I know about magnets. You can have an Earth magnet all day that's flat, north, south. There's your poles. Okay, what kind of rotation is required for that? You get two or more together, depending on what type of magnetic fields that you're looking for, and all that's based in frequency. And of course, it depends on the periodic table and how they're made. There's varying forms of that, but that's something that piqued my interest, and I started looking more into it. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense either. As far as the rotation, not only does my senses tell me that,
oh yeah, that hot molten core that people just guess is there because it makes their equation work or something.
Yeah, again, you can't fuse past iron, right?
I don't know, that whole thing is so garbage that
it is. It's pseudoscience. What is real science? I understand real science. I don't have to be a professor to understand it. I've dealt with electronics since the 80s. I've read books. I'm multi-talented in those fields like you, Max. I get it. But when you come to certain conclusions, that realization, that little light bulb comes on, you rethink things really quick. Yeah. The focus starts getting real clear.
Well, that's what
Go ahead.
Well, that's what I mean though with like faking technology though.
I get
Because
it.
if you wipe out that the space, whatever they're doing at NASA, they're not sending people to the moon and they're not sending people to Mars. They admit themselves they cannot go out of low Earth atmosphere, which means they are admitting they cannot go higher than like a balloon, a high
Right.
altitude balloon. They admit that.
Right.
So knowing this, then when they say that they have satellite GPS and they have satellites over here tracking this, and they're seeing what the atmosphere is comprised of on Mars with their telescope, you know it's all a crock completely, right? So, what is the actual limits of their technology? When you look at what they're really doing, they're sending up balloons and using radio towers. Okay, that's what they're actually doing,
Yep. I've seen it.
balloons and radio towers.
Yep.
Yet they will say it's some mystical, fantastic technology from space where my cable television's being beamed in from 300,000 miles away or something. And it's like that's a total
It's buffoonery.
lie.
Yep.
And when you realize the real capabilities of what really is going on, it's like, okay, we're a little bit better than World War II technology. I mean, with the exception of we have semiconductors now, so we can make computers smaller, and that's really about it. Um, and what can you do with stuff like that? Well, I guess you can have you can absorb more data. We got high speed internet, so communications faster and things that operate in that. Um,
Yeah.
sure,
Exactly. Where's our
but
levitating cars at this point? We were talking about that
exactly.
50 years ago. So,
And we have some better metals now than we had before, and we
sure.
have better computers than we've ever had. But
Sure.
beyond that, there's no like wonder weapons. There's no super anything. It's all pretty straightforward science. Um, yeah,
I
I don't
agree.
know. I don't. It's not like this leaps and bounds thing, like going from a horse and buggy to a car or anything. It's an industrial revolution. It's kind of just a natural progression of things. Now computers go really quick, but that's just
Sure.
a
Might
matter
have
of
been.
making things smaller.
Right. Right. That's it. Go from your surface mount technologies to what I grew up with, full size actual electronic components.
Well, right, and that was largely due to vacuum tubes and way back when. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
transistor radios, your vacuum tubes, and
That
then
was
in
my
the
first
80s.
setup, actually. That's how old I am. But it was a
Yeah.
hand me down, but it was one of the best stereos I've ever owned. I'll
Oh
tell you
yeah, I
that.
had I had I had a tube stereo too.
Okay. Cool.
And it wasn't until the early 80s that they started getting into solid state stuff.
That's it. That's it, man.
And yeah, I mean, okay, you have a semiconductor now. It's like, okay, well, you're gonna talk about like, oh, we got self-driving electric cars, and it's like the very first car that was ever made was electric back in like 1801 or something.
Yep.
I mean,
That's a fact.
I don't know, just the way that I see things, I think that a lot of what they say they can do is a lie. And what really makes me angry is the knowing about nuclear power, and you research that, all that nuclear power does is make water hot. It just makes heat. There isn't any deadly radiation, unless you can have
Thermonuclear reactor.
contaminated products.
Right. Right.
Um, and then there's actually documentaries about that on YouTube from the guy who was heavily involved in it, and how many wars were starting because supposedly Iraq is, oh, he's enriching uranium. Oh, what? So they need more power? I
Just
mean,
another cover. Sure.
right. Enriching uranium, and now they're mad at Iran for that and all this. And it's like, can't they have a power plant? Is it that big of a deal? And yeah, all of those things that go behind it. I think that, the great deterrent now for war is supposedly nuclear weapons and all this, and that's our
Sure.
big stick. And it's like, well, none of that exists. I guess it's a good talking point, but
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it goes back to the grand facade. How many actual countries are in on it together? I'd say all of them.
oh, they have to be. They all
Sure.
signed a treaty.
You got it. That's it.
That's
You
the real interesting thing about the whole flat Earth thing is it doesn't matter to anyone's daily life, but at least now you can actually wonder what is out there that you don't know about and nobody knows about, because people have been isolated to believe what they see on that little spinning ball on their teacher's desk is all that there is to the Earth.
Sure.
Well, that's just what we know about.
You got it.
and they cordoned off the areas that nobody can ever go to.
Antarctica. Sure.
Right. Well, that's what they
Several
call
other-
it, but who knows what's out there? There could be a lot more land. We don't know.
Hitler and his secret base.
It could be. That's yeah. They made a movie about that. That was kind of entertaining.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Admiral Byrd and the whole
Yeah.
story. Sure.
But like, you know, I would expect that it's probably just like what the UN logo looks like is what I would expect. But there's probably a bunch of islands and things out there that are, you know, the private getaways of elite people and all of that. I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. It's like you can not rest and think that, oh, everything's been discovered, everything's been done. I don't have to do anything. I can just kind of sit around, watch Netflix and play video games because it's all been done. What's the point? What's the point of doing anything? It's like, well, if the earth is flat, you know God exists. You can't get around that one. And now you have.
As well as I do, Max. Man has to have a motivation for progress, right?
Right.
Let's move forward.
And now you've got this brand new earth to explore because it's not the same earth anymore. It's not the spinning blue marble thing. Now it's a completely new place that you can see with new eyes. And yeah.
Literally and metaphorically.
And enjoy it for what it is. And you can be, you know, secure in the fact that you're not just come out of some random explosion in space. Right. That whole big bag nonsense. I can't believe people ever believe that.
Well, everything that exists came from nothing. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I can't believe they're still using the narrative.
Well, look, like even the top guys will tell you, there's interviews. You can read some of the books. They'll tell you it's a dying religion. So that's why a lot of the head guys are actually leaning toward panspermia. It's anything and everything but God.
Oh, yeah. Well, then we got to go back to our aliens and NASA.
That's it.
That's how we make it all work.
Well,
aliens and NASA.
Even my dad fell for that, for what he heard and what he saw.
Well, there's the best that I've heard so far is that aliens exist and they're on the land that nobody can go to.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
The bases are underwater. The government made that, secret pact with them back in the 40s and 50s.
Admiral Byrd.
Sure. It's all speculation. Again, we get hooked into these things with conspiracy. I know. Trust me. I wrote the book on that and just how engrossing that can be in somebody's life, man. You talking about an addiction. You can't get enough of it because you think it's knowledge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth in everything, sure, but you have to dig. We discussed that in the last video. You really have to be open-minded and be real critical about what you think you know. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you're only going to get out of something what you put into it.
You got it.
It's kind of like as we've been kind of throwing around the crypto ideas for the last, couple of weeks or whatever, and through videos, it's like, I can't just give people answers and then have them make a millionaire out of them overnight. People put in time and understand what they're doing a little bit. And
sure,
that's how it goes. And it's like, if you really want to make a lot of money or do this, that, and do day trading, it's like, you have to actually study it. You actually have to know what you're doing. No one's just going to hand you the answers.
No.
And it's the same thing with the Bible or anything like that is like, if you actually want to know it and know the truth and not be deceived and led the wrong way, you have to know what you're talking about. And you can't rely on other people to set you straight and then blame them when you get taken advantage of. It's just not what you do.
I've learned that one the hard way, like many of us have. Sure.
Well, everybody has.
Sure. No doubt.
But at the end of the day, most of the time, it's people's own fault, right?
Yeah, sure it is.
Not all the time, but like a good deal of the time.
There's a lot of innocence to that too, and that goes back to perception of the world around us.
Right.
Okay, the government's your friend,
right?
They have your best interest at heart. So
when did that ever happen? Did we ever come to a conclusion on that? Because even when I was a kid, that's like the main, you used to have newspapers back in the day, right? And you'd have a comic book section and you'd look at Doonesbury or something and they're making fun of politicians and lawyers never telling the truth and being evil. And the standard joke on television is that, lawyers are evil and all this other stuff. But like nowadays, it's like that's your experts, is these people you've been saying for at least since I was a kid not to listen to. But sometime that changed. I guess Generation Z or millennials or something.
Sure. Absolutely. People seeking truth and actually seeing action, because people can say one thing, that's fine, but it's about people's actions,
I don't know. I trust Dr. Fauci.
Oh, man. Yes, the truthful Jesuit. What
Does anyone remember? Does anyone remember AIDS? Whatever happened to that?
Yeah,
I don't
check
know.
into that.
Ask Dr. Fauci.
You got it. The whole cover up with the autoimmune deficiency syndrome. So, money, tainted blood and money. So again, I'm like you at this point. I've been this way for a long time. I don't trust anything because men are liars. Period. Well,
I suppose that's a very, very pessimistic way to look at the world, Jared.
Well, I'm a realist. Pessimist, glass half full, fine. But you have to be a realist. I used to be that guy too for a lot of my years of being, of course, it goes with age with many people, and it depends on your background and a multiple thing. It's different for everyone. You come to truth at different times. I get it. But I wanted to see the good in everyone. I'm still kind of that way, and I'm kind of glad I'm that way.
Well, that's the predicament we're in now. So that's how people are, I think, as a general nature, is that people are generally want to believe the best in other people.
Sure.
And they don't believe anybody's as bad as them. They're always better.
Yep. Back to Catholicism. It's that merit system. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't do the kind of sins that guy did, so I'm good.
Right.
Really? Okay.
Or everybody's a saint unless you know something about them.
Please.
Well, I'm just serious. That's the way that people actually are, right?
No, I get it. Who are you when you're by yourself? It's like James 2, profession before men.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a little while to figure that one out. That's one thing. As far as your walk and people can see, again, going back to actions. And then, just someone just saying something or tithing in front of people or look at me, back to Cain and Abel. Well, look at me, God.
Mm-hmm.
Look what I'm doing for you. No, sir. That's not it. You missed the whole point.
What do the old Catholics think about the mark of the beast? And they think all that already happened. So I think they're amillennial or something, like we're living in the millennial kingdom.
I don't think that's their main tenet. It really depends because there's multiple different ideologies within that too, and how they study and what they put out. So because everything changed after Vatican II anyway. But yes, Jesuits are lurking everywhere, Brian. But it goes back to he didn't give us the spirit of fear, and back to the fallen angels and DNA, because a lot of people are trying to get us back on track.
Oh, we're going to demon blood. Woohoo, demon blood.
No, it can't be done, people. Time travel. No kidding. The government's been working on that since the 30s. That's a fact. That's easily proven. Would God allow something like that? There's no way. There is no possible way. That's messing with God and his timeline. Think about it. CERN, all them people. It is interesting.
Well, with just the idea is that there's a lot of Christians out there that will say, this is the mark of the beast, and this is such, and this is the end times, and everything's going to end, and you got to get your bug out bag togethers and all this stuff. And it's like, you like ask God about that and how that fits,
Sure.
If what's going on, if God would allow certain things. And I think the answer is pretty easy when someone says, how could God allow this, that, or the other thing? And the first thing is, well, did they ask for it? And
that's it, man.
I mean, how could God allow this to happen? And all the people that are, in California, they have Tent City coming up at Venice Beach there. And it's like, how could God do all that? And it's like, well, did the people ask for it? Are they getting what they asked for?
Going back to Israel. Sure. Same thing with Israelites,
Yeah.
Stubborn. Look what they had to go through, Please.
Well, no, I don't think a lot of people even realize it, and the people where they have problems in the medical system and they took some advice from their doctor that they probably shouldn't have and get all messed up. And it's like, well, you asked for it, it's hard. It's like, how could God let these evil people do all these things to people? And again, we go back to, to a guy like Bill Gates, he's not doing anything to anybody. He's just making it possible and
Yeah,
advertising it.
that's
You
it.
know,
That's it. Yeah, maniacal men and their evil deeds, but it's again, it goes back to what's your foundation of truth? Peter wasn't the rock, Jesus Christ is the rock. That's the difference. But no fear, be apprised, study, that's fine. Just be careful, who you listen to and what you think you know. That's what it comes down for me. But me and
well,
Mac,
you
go
gotta
ahead.
match it up to you gotta match it up to like what the Bible says on stuff.
Oh,
Because
that's
there's
fine.
a lot of crap people want to talk about end times, this, that, and the other thing, and
Clickbait,
yeah,
Robert.
and
Come on.
I, I'll listen to that stuff as entertainment, going in knowing it's entertainment. But a lot of people that aren't as studied or know as much as I do would get it's there for them to
Trip them up.
donate here, donate
You got it.
here.
Money. Filthy lucre. You better believe it. Just always follow the money. That's bottom line. Control and money.
Yeah, that's basically always the case.
Well, look, guys, studying all this stuff about the fallen angels, I get it. I agree with that aspect in scripture. Did the giants survive? That's what it said. Okay, are they actually people today? No, what would have to take place for that to become a literal person? I mean, think about it. As far as a DNA transformation or the hybrid situation, would God allow that? Okay, some lived after the flood. Okay, it doesn't specify what they went on to do. Okay, have they been captured, found, studied? Well, okay, there's a lot of theory on that, a lot of interesting stories, a lot of good books on it. What can be done with it? If man cannot create life, demonic activity cannot create life, there's your answer. Because at the end of the day, it's like Max said the other day, man does not have the ability to send anyone to hell. Because your soul belongs to God. It doesn't belong to Satan. It doesn't belong to man. And we have free will. So there's your answer to that. If y'all want to study whatever into this particular subject, get with me. I can, give you references, links, all this. But I'm telling you, it's a waste of time. It's interesting, sure, but it is a waste of time.
And that relates to anything that someone proclaims as the mark of the beast.
You got it. You got it. Because the system being part of the mark is being somebody. It's the lost world. They're already under that mark. And looking for a particular billboard, like someone said, give me a break. Don't insult my intelligence. A babe in Christ, maybe. I get it because I've been down that road too. But that leads to more fear and confusion. Stick to the word. Everybody here knows that, and that's the King James. I get it.
So you on the page of the what is it? The blasphemy of the Holy Ghost is just not accepting Jesus.
That's the only unforgivable sin. That's clear
Yeah.
scripture to me, Max. It really is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, the sins of the world's already been forgiven. He said it was finished at Calvary. Because you know as well as I do, Max, I studied the salvation issue for years and nearly took my own life because of it. Because I was wrapped up in that freaking occult with that moronic clown. But I learned what I learned, and God allowed it, and He let me move on. And the staple to that whole story is, like I said in the last video, get my word out, Jimmy, and test all things. Okay. So that's where I'm at today.
How's that working out for you?
Well, I'll put it this way. There's nobody you know or anybody else that's listening that can convince me otherwise. Because he said you need to know what you know.
Yeah, isn't that kind of funny?
Isn't it?
It's like
It's so simple.
it's very hard for people to persuade you into some other sort of way. I mean, it's almost
not going to
laughable.
happen.
It's like you go into the conversation already knowing you're right. And it's like, oh, well, it sounds kind of interesting, but then a second later you're like, but it can't be true because of this or that or the other thing. And yeah.
Well, sure. Because everything in life, there's a price. We have to earn it, work for it, whatever. Whether you deserve it or not. That's in the physical. But the creator, I think he was capable of paying for all of it. That's what he said. He's not a liar. Thief's on the cross. I mean, come on, people. It's real simple. And no,
Yeah,
the old license to sin is a straw man. And most of us get that. What do you mean a license to sin? If you're alive, you're breathing, you're a sinner, period.
right.
I'm just a saved sinner. That's the difference. That's the only separation. I'm his child. I'm born again. I have no doubt. I have no question. Now that is where I find my peace. Rest of the world, no, I'm already condemned. I have my issues like everybody else. But that's what carries me through the day. It's all about him, man.
Yeah, the more truth you come to, the more you rely on God too. So
Amen.
it's a win all the way around.
Yeah, there's no negatives to that at all.
No.
Absolutely.
And there is plenty of times you come to something where it's like, well, God can worry about it.
Exactly.
And the Bible says, lay all your worries on him.
Sure.
And it's like, you got all these things. The whole system, the way it is now, is designed to make everybody worry about everything.
You got it.
So they don't worry about what they're doing and finding truth and worshiping God and doing this. You got to worry about everything. Did you hear Black Lives Matter is burning down something in a totally different country? You got to worry about that. It's like, nah, I'll let God worry about that.
Yes, and they're coming for your guns, and you're going to a FEMA camp.
Right.
Okay.
How long have they been talking about they're coming for your guns? That's been the rhetoric since Clinton.
You got it. Well, before actually, but yeah, that's primarily when most of it really started to ramp up during the Weapons Act. And
well, Bill Clinton did the assault weapons ban thing, which didn't really ban them. It just raised the price of assault rifles up by like $1,000.
Yeah, Sunset Act, and look what it did: zero, nothing.
No, people went out and bought more guns, and they're more valuable.
And I do believe if I want to own a automatic weapon, a military quote style weapon, that should be my business, nobody else's.
Well, of course.
Because the whole purpose of it, we should be equally armed, just like the government. Anything they have, we should have as well. There's no argument to me. There is no debate with sensible gun control. There is no such thing, because there's no such thing as an assault weapon. That's just wordplay. I think most of us get that. And anybody that knows me in the community knows I'm AKA gun nut that I've been referred to. Whatever.
It's an assault rifle if you carry one, but if the police carry it, it's just a rifle.
Exactly. Elitism, classism, that's what it's about.
Oh yeah, and we already know it's going there, and it
has to.
What's amazing to me and what I had to actually think about was, in the whole Denlinger clan out there, when he was big, I don't even know if he's still a pre-trib guy, but when he was a big pre-trib guy, he was making the point that you don't know it if there's if the real Christians are a lot smaller part of the population than we think. Because when you think the rapture, you think, the movie, right, where like half the people are gone and planes are flying out of the air and all this stuff, chaos everywhere. Well, what if it's so few people that no one even notices, right? And normally I think like, well, that's kind of a down way to think about things. But then when you look at what's going on around you and how many people are just brain dead zombies, it's like,
Jimmy, where did he go?
Would anyone, even if I didn't have a YouTube channel, would anybody even know that I existed?
Exactly.
If I was beamed up, right?
Beamed
up.
Okay, man. Star Trek technology now.
Well, people don't really like my terms. That's fine.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm with it. That's what I use. Actually, it's fine.
But like, my family, I'll talk to them like every month or every couple of months. Would they even notice?
In a couple of months, maybe.
I figure the wife is going with me. So, what do we? I mean, really, is anyone really gonna even miss that I'm gone? They figure the virus got me or something. I don't know.
Well, look, I don't necessarily want to be known. It's like Scripture says. I'm not trying to build a kingdom here.
Sure.
I've been made fun of, mislabeled, all that. Most of us have. That's fine. It bothered me for years. Now I don't care. Hadn't cared for years. Certain family members I don't even speak to anymore, but I tried. I did. Yeah. I went way out of the way that most people probably wouldn't even do it. But I'm nobody's walking mat. That's what it comes down to. I pray for them. They're my family. If they want to turn it around, that's between them and the Lord. But other than that, being a Christian can be a very lonely walk a lot of times. There's no doubt about that. You
Yeah,
know,
especially with them all going to go get gene therapy. Oof.
good Lord.
Maybe we'd be like the last ones left.
Gene.
Maybe we should say it's the mark just to make people stop taking it. But, that would be lying, and then we don't want to do that.
There you go. Because you have enough opposition out there already now that's already proposing that. So what do you do?
Yeah.
What do
They
you do?
aren't as this is the other regarding that stuff. The other big lie from the news media and things is that everybody is running out there to go get this stuff, and everybody is all on board, and everybody is doing this. And you look at their actual numbers, and it's only like 20 million. Well, guys, there's 330 million something people in the country, so it's like, okay, 10% of the people.
There you go.
And I think if it was more people, you'd have a lot more backlash because they're having some problems with some of that stuff.
Right.
I'm not having a problem with it. I think it's just fine.
Yep. Totally. Absolutely. But again, Scripture says few would find heaven. So you make a good point with that. I think it's going to be a few, a very small number. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I think the whole lockdown and the whole narrative and the stuff that are in the people. I mean, I don't see how you can not question the narrative and be like a Christian with the Holy Ghost walking with you. Maybe saved and forgot about it or something, but isn't God going to wake you up to some of this stuff?
Well, that comes down to another question. Sure, I get that a lot. Especially in the comment section, people in my daily walk in life. It's like, well, how could a Christian not know this, that, or the other? And I said, well, it's real simple. Again, it goes back to salvation's simple. Are you being an effect for Christ, or are you not? You could be easily saved and not know any of this stuff, or not, maybe curious, but not being of any effect. That's what it comes down to. You could just be lazy or whatever the issue is with the individual. Who knows?
It seems to me that like actual churches out there though are
oh my Lord
are talking against it. I mean, actual ones. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, there are still good churches out there and still reasonably okay churches out there. There's a lot of Baptist places out there where they're talking this stuff, and
there's one right down the street from me. They're hardcore with this stuff.
I think that people are listening to it and still going about getting in line and all that.
Well, okay, how strong is their prayer life? Anybody can go to a building. We know that's not a church. That's just an assembly. I get it. You're supposed to go and learn the word of God, lift each other up. But it goes back to the individual. The indoctrination's so heavy. If you look at someone speaking with a white coat on, you're going to listen.
Yeah.
Willful ignorance. We're all ignorant of a lot of things. That's not being stupid. We all know there's a separation of meaning and words in that, but it's baby steps, man. Like you told me with the shape of the world.
Yeah.
So,
we're just going to grab people by the shoulders. Start smacking them.
No, it's like for years I've wanted to electronically, just a thought, invent a little device to where, okay, if I'm touching it, transfer what I know to somebody. But then again, there'd probably be thousands of people committing suicide.
There you go.
So it's like,
That's the whole thing where you got to be careful about talking flat earth with people because, people can't handle it.
I don't bring it up. Online to a degree now, of course, but as far as personal life, no, I don't want to lose all credibility. So you have to pick and choose your battles, and that's it, Max. If it's like-minded people, sure. Strike up a conversation. Fill it out, ease into it, if necessary. But again, that's I don't care what the shape of it is, really. But I care about truth.
Sure.
Is it a salvation issue? No, of course not. Of course not. But again, I've seen a lot of people come to Christ because of this issue.
You live in fantasy land though, if you're believing in this stuff, because it's all so tied to these different fantasies with NASA and GPS systems and all this. The whole thing is such a fantastical thing.
It's fakery. At a
And
high level.
people believe that way more than they ever believe in like evolution. Evolution, they just kind of shrug and go, whatever, because it happens over billions of years. There's very few diehard people out there into that. But
Sure.
everyone goes, GPS, oh yeah, it comes down off the satellite. And you go, how does that work? And they go, I don't know. Like, do you think that's possible? Like, don't you, when you're like going on a road trip, you have the radio on, and after you go about 25 miles, you can't catch the radio signal anymore, but you think you're getting television from space?
That's it. Look at the speed of radio frequencies. And then you go back to a particular incident in our history in America.
Oh.
Okay. And you tell me that was another red flag.
Oh, you mean to tell me that Nixon didn't talk to the phone and the guys in the moon?
What, instantly with no delay? Please.
No.
That's not possible. That's not scientific at all. That I do know. That's easily proven. So
I don't know. I'm building my lunar lander in the backyard. I got my duct tape and
Well,
my
you got
big
your balsa
cardboard
wood.
box. I got a couple of curtain rods. And yeah.
But how are you going to make it through the Van Allen radiation belt?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to douse myself in water. That's NASA's response. If it's good
But we
enough
don't
for
have
them,
the technology anymore.
good enough
We've
for
lost
me. I would go back to the moon in a nanosecond.
It's incredible.
Yes.
The Duper's delight, man.
And a lot of people will admit that a lot of that was fake, but then like the Alex Jones thing is like, but yeah, we do. That was a publicity stunt, but we've done it since then. And it's like,
And that's
okay,
the theory. Sure, it was all. It had to be filmed because we wasn't ready.
Yep.
Okay, we got a certain film director that's famous, and we did it afterward, But of course, the prosperity, the one thing that we kept was the actual event on tape.
Sure.
There's no time for prosperity. It's gone because somebody accidentally erased all the footage. Now, how convenient can that be?
Well, they needed the space on the tape.
That's right.
Like how you taped over your wedding or something with WWE or something like that. You taped it over. They needed the space. That's what NASA said.
Yeah. People started waking up, questioning the narrative, and it's like, okay, damage control, people. Let's do something.
Yeah, that director actually, there's video of his interview too where he said he did it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I forget the guy's name. He was friends with Disney.
Okay.
Disney guy.
I don't know. I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name. Hold on one second. Go ahead, Max. I'm going to clear my throat.
Well, I don't know. Anyone who's interested in that, you can YouTube it. It's like moon landing director. It'll come up with the guy's name, and you can find clips of it and stuff on YouTube, and it's actually him. You can tell it's him. People say that it's someone else acting like him or whatever. And it's like, no,
Nope.
It's him who says, yeah, I came in here and did it. And he says that was the one thing the conspiracy theorists were right at the time was, yeah, it was me.
Absolutely.
And that's all there is to that.
Sure, because you can watch The Shining and you can see all the subliminal stuff and messages that he was trying to convey about the Apollo 13.
Yeah.
It's very occultic, but at the same time, it's things are deep, people. Things are really deep. It's like welcome to the Matrix, but we belong to Christ. There's no fear. That's what it comes back down to.
Yeah, and when you know the truth, then you effectively have superpowers in this world because you can see that crap from a mile away.
You got
You can prepare for it.
Right.
Okay?
The Discernometer is off the charts.
Before I was a Christian, I was still fairly at least seeking truth and put a fair amount into that. And there are a lot of IT projects, worked in IT, that go through that I just saw right out the gate, not necessarily thinking New World Order, but like the electronic medical record system. And the people who are implementing that, my best friend implements that and did his own business, and they're paying him more than the president, CEO of the hospital in California.
Wow. Interesting.
So he's getting paid like $250,000 a year to implement a medical record system as a consultant, which was more money than the president CEO is making. And this is a big medical center in California.
Wow.
I'm not going to name it because I don't want to get anybody in trouble in there.
No, I understand. Sure.
But he's just a dude, right? With really has a community college degree, right? But he worked in medical record implementation, electronic medical record training, and that whole system, because they They have all these government grants to get everyone wired in electronically. And why is that? Oh, so they can dictate top down what sort of medical treatment people are going to get. So when someone says my doctor recommends this and my doctor recommends that, it's like, no, they don't. The computer screen told the doctor to recommend that for you.
Yep,
because that is what your insurance will cover.
Yep.
The doctor's not going to recommend anything that doesn't show up on his computer screen because he'll get charged for malpractice. All right.
Bingo.
And guess what? The doctors have no responsibility over anything they do because their malpractice insurance is covered by the hospital or the clinic they work at. And as long as they do whatever the computer screen tells them to do, they can't be charged with anything. Nobody can come back at them and say, you did me wrong, because he can say the computer told me to do it. And that's how the medical industrial complex works. And I saw this stuff back in 2004 when I was involved in that. I'm like, oh, that's where they're going with this. And I'm like, sort of the Alex Jones idea of, government take over everything, which you could see they were doing working in IT. It's unavoidable. But it's like, it can see exactly where the incentive is for all these people to sell away their rights and sell away their sovereignty and sell away their privacy and sell away everything. It was all because the government gives them money and they have no problems. It's like money wipes away all morality.
Sure it does.
And you come in, and as long as you can excuse it with something like, well, electronic medical record system will help us have better data and better research and better care and all this. And what they mean is better data, better research and better care for what to sell people and what has the highest profit margin. That's what that means.
Yep.
It has nothing at all to do with providing better actual care to people. And that's not even going as far as to say that people are out trying to weed the population out or anything like that. No, they're just trying to make a buck.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely medical tyranny is what's going on. That's definitely part of the structure. There's no doubt. But it's another data point that leads to the bigger picture of control. We all get that. But it's like someone asked me the other night over that first video. It's like, well, what do you mean you take medications? I'm like, well, have you ever not? You're not me. But again, my point is, do you pray over the food you eat? That's the whole point. Not everything is bad. That's just like conspiracies.
Right.
It molds the mind of a lot of people I've seen get schizoid real quick because they believe this crap. And it's like, okay, where's your discernment? First and foremost, are you born again? Because I don't recommend conspiracies really to anyone, believe it or not, because I know the cause and effect of something like that, because I've been down that road. You have to be careful with these things, especially the occult. That messed me up, man. You were a high priest in an occult denomination. Well, that's the thing. You can easily become indoctrinated. Scripture doesn't say not to study. It says don't practice those things. Okay, that's an interesting conversation right there. So what do you like? Well, then you have to discern what exactly is a cult and what exactly isn't. Because there are some of those people that take that stuff way off the rails. Like, you can't meditate, which effectively is sitting quietly and thinking about things. Sure. I mean, it's like, come on. Father Brown. Yeah. I mean, legalistic much. And that's my whole point. You pray over everything. Oh, yeah, all the time. I take 5 different types of medications. Do I like it? No. But does it help me? Yes, it does. People can argue that all day and condemn me. That's fine. So I take it weed isn't legal where you're at. Not yet, but I'm not that guy. I did it during the 80s, and I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. I did it for about 4 or 5 years when I was a kid, teenage stuff, whatever. But I don't like being high. I don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. That's been out of my system for 35 years, man. Yeah. So, But I have arthritis. What if your insurance paid for it? I still wouldn't do it. That's what I get is like a lot of people will get their pills just because they get them for free. And that's the truth, because everyone makes money on that deal. They give you some poison in a container and then they get to bill your insurance $900 for those poison that they gave you. And if you take any of them, you get sicker and then you come back to get more pills to help you with the other poison pills. Vicious cycle, right? Yeah. And that's how it is. And it's sad, but at the same token, the people are showing up to go get the pills. So obviously they want it. And, no money in prevention, right? Yeah. No. And that's actual work. You got
People
it.
just want to take a pill. I mean, I just like to take a pill for some stuff too. And I do for some things if like I know I'm not getting enough sun or something, take some D whatever, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I take my vitamins too, and I try to eat right. It's like I just cut out sugar. I had to. It's detrimental. It's poison, and I've known this for years. But again, it
Oh
goes
yeah.
back to the human mind's very irrational. And it's like I'm a fast food guy. I always have been. I love a good home cooked meal, but it's like hey,
You gotta have the Big Mac.
that's it. You
You
got
gotta
it.
have the Big Mac.
If it tastes good, spit it out. It can't be good for you.
Victoria's on. She says the guy's name is Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, that's him. That's it.
Yeah.
What's up, Victoria?
Hey Victoria, if you want to come talk, we're talking miscellaneous. We're also talking flat Earths and all that kind of good stuff.
That's her territory.
Yeah. I think we all are. Like as far as like, I know Nick. I think Nick
I was gonna
came to
bring
the
Nick
Lord
up,
because
yeah.
of
Yeah.
because of flat Earth. She said.
Yep, that's what she told me. We
And
had
I'm
that
pretty sure
conversation
that
last year.
yeah, I think Phil is too. So we're all nutcases on this channel.
Of course. Of course. Scorn and mockery heading this way.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward. I'm not a big pot guy either. Even in my teen years, it was always around. And the particular place where I grew up, we're like the rich kids who had too much money and nothing to do. So,
Right.
but are we going to hang out in a cornfield and smoke weed? I guess
You
because
got it.
there's nothing else to do.
Sure.
And it was kind of available, but I never like really bought any. And it was kind of like around it. I didn't really, after I was like 16, I'm like, I don't really like this. So I really don't.
Well, cool.
But I see the benefits of it and have
there's a lot
actually,
of benefits. Sure.
yeah, I've actually researched it quite a bit and it actually looks like a very beneficial thing for a lot of people. However, I also have grown up with a couple of people that's all they do all day long.
Hey,
And they're like heavily addicted to it. And that's
you got
just,
it.
but whether or not the people that I know, whether or not it's the pot or it's their mentality because they're, on the lower end of the spectrum. And, maybe if it wasn't weed, it'd be something else,
Right.
I don't know. I can't say. But yeah, it'd be, pot needs to be legal. That'd be great. There are people that can handle it. You don't have to go get, your opiates and stuff. You can
Sure.
go to the Quickie Mart and get a couple doobies and be good.
Couple of doobies. That's it.
Well, I don't know. Back
That's
when I
fine.
used to smoke, I'd take like one puff and I would be high. So I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
One joint would last me a month.
That's it, man. That's it.
Hell, one hitter. Maybe I can get that on the lathe. I can sell Max Bauer one hitters, huh? How about that?
The Power one hitter.
There you go.
One toke do you.
The power of Bauer.
Well, I mean, look, I started drinking at like 13, hitting marijuana about 14, 15.
Well, everybody did. It's the 80s.
Sure, most did. Sure. No doubt about it. I never touched anything else. I was too afraid of it, a lot of opportunities to do coke, the white pony. I'd never food with it. No pills, nothing like that, nothing hardcore. I was just old school. Give me a drink and a cigarette and I was good,
Yeah.
No pressure. It was
pretty much where we're at, except, we had access to all that, but nobody I knew was really heavy into any of that other stuff. It just was always around because,
Sure.
they're going to go where the money is.
You got it.
You're not gonna bring the high class stuff down in like North Minneapolis or Richmond, Virginia, or no, you're gonna go out to the burbs with that.
There you go.
And it's whatever, just kid stuff. If anything, I actually think that alcohol is probably the worst out of any of the stuff that I've done. So,
Yeah, it's very detrimental.
It has the potential to be way worse.
Oh yeah, no doubt. They don't call it spirits for nothing, right?
Well, it's that, and it's just you build up the tolerance, and then you can't get sloppy on weed. It just can't happen, right?
Well, it depends, I guess, on the culture behind it and maybe what it's mixed with. Because I tell you,
I'm not talking mixing stuff. So
Okay.
Look at you. You're already
Hey.
up here mixing your weed with stuff.
man, no. I was 15. Rode around with a friend of mine's older brother in school. Right, rode around the block. Was going to drop me off at the pool hall. I don't know what this stuff was. I think it was angel dust.
You miscreants hanging out at the pool hall. No wonder you got all these problems, huh?
Well, hey, man, that was the place,
Back when people today are like, "What's a pool hall?"
Oh, it's crazy. I miss it. I love it. There's nothing around
You're
here
gonna
either.
go to the arcade.
Yeah, you can't even play paintball anymore. It's pretty much gone. So, it's welcome to the new world.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah.
That's okay. I play SOCOM. I'm good.
So you hung out at the pool hall, and they had some dirty weed for you.
Oh, man, I don't know. It was the worst trip of my life. I'll just say that.
Well, you're not supposed to have that on weed. They must have put something in it.
Angel dust, PCP.
Oh, well, isn't that just meth or something?
Yeah, basically, somewhat. I don't know, but I was seeing aliens and talking backwards and thought I'd been poisoned and couldn't speak for 8 hours. So I was like, okay, I'm done.
Oh, that's like, what do they call it? DMT nowadays? Is that what it is?
Yep. Yeah, I was tripping,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, we didn't have that in my school, I don't think.
Thank
Is
God.
or is that just basically acid?
I don't really know.
'Cause acid's like LSD.
Yeah, I'm not big up on that stuff. I've never really studied that much of it. I've just seen my friends that would do it, and that was enough for me to
Yeah.
say, okay, I don't need this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Friends jumping off buildings, getting killed in car wrecks, just, spazzing.
Boy,
Oh, yeah.
some
So,
childhood you got.
well, hey. And I was the good kid in the neighborhood, but still, I floated from
No.
different groups, I fit in with everybody, but still, it's like the Lord was always there protecting me. I know
Oh
that.
yeah.
There's
Oh
no doubt.
yeah. I don't want to go too far into that, but it's like at one point I could have lost my life and I knew I wasn't going to die.
Several times.
It was so as it was happening, I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to die." And some angel or
Man, I
something
can so
grabbed
relate
me.
to that. Yes, yes, yes.
Some angel or something grabbed me by the shoulders and flung me clear. And that's
Max,
like, and
absolutely.
I don't know why at that point I just didn't immediately turn to God, but I guess I think I kind of turned to God, but had no idea who God was.
Sure.
Because even though my mom goes to church and all that, my dad doesn't, and I never been to church, so I don't know anything about it. I'm just like, oh, well, I'm not going to die. I don't know. Some angel pulled me out of there. I don't.
Okay. This was the summer of 85. I bought a motorcycle, my first one, right? Traded a Volkswagen for it. It was a 1978 Kawasaki KZ 440. So I thought I was Evel Knievel, got real comfortable with it, and that was my mistake. I rode it pretty much for one summer. I started to race a friend of mine on the back roads where we lived, right? We locked handlebars.
Whoops.
Yes, I was doing about 90. And the handlebars actually fully turned. And it being a hot day, the Lord, angel, all that, everything just fell into line. No helmet back in the day, of course. Had shorts on, short sleeve shirt. I was like, okay, I'm dead. So my motorcycle ends up in the oncoming traffic lane. And that road's always busy, not a car in sight. All I remember is something, my angel, the Lord, took me off that bike. I'm sliding backwards at good 100 yards. I stuck to sheets for about a month. I had road rash. That's it. That's it. Me and my buddy walked down another 100 yards and found my motorcycle, what was left of it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's my close event. That and the other about 10 years ago.
So you don't motorcycle anymore? Or you still got a bike?
No, it took me about 3 years, but I got back on it.
There you go.
I actually want one, but the way the world is today and the way people just don't respect that, no way. Especially in my physical condition. If I was to lay one over at this point, man, oh no, Jimmy would be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Just saying, So yeah, I've been there, man. I've been close to it, and that's just the incidences that I was aware of.
Oh yeah, I know. Then there's all those ones you had no idea.
You got it. You got it, man. I mean, I've been shot at, you name it. It's I've been through it. So it's
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt.
I lived in North Minneapolis, had a guy break into my place when I was there.
Oh, okay. Do you have a beer with him? What?
No, he
Detail.
he walked in. I was like in the bathroom, like getting ready for work. Walked in and you walk in through the kitchen and there's a door in there that's my workout area. And he saw what was on the walls and turned around and left.
Okay.
And
I think I follow you.
yeah, about a
You-
week prior, my brother was home from the military, and we went to the police gun place and shot up a whole bunch of targets and had
Okay.
the SKS and 45s and just all these targets of like Osama and all the stuff that they sold back then up
Oh,
all
yeah, I
over my
remember.
workout room. So the guy came in there and decided it wasn't a good idea to stick around, especially
Well.
when he heard me fumbling around in the bathroom.
Yep. Hence, it's a deterrence. You know,
Yeah.
that's
And he was pretty determined though, because he went downstairs and cut open the side of the pay wash machine to
oh
get the
wow.
change
Really?
out of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So yeah,
Well,
he
they-
didn't want to mess with me. I don't know why.
Well, an armed society is a polite society. You know.
Huh? Well, I mean, guy could have influenced him to turn around and get out too.
Well,
I never know.
there you go. There you go.
You know, because even if you have to put someone down in self-defense or something like that, it's always a big problem. You know,
Oh, sure it is. And
they
look,
always have to make the guy who wins the gunfight the criminal.
look, that's why I have insurance for that. That's the day and age we live in.
Yeah,
Judge,
you got a license to kill?
no, an actual insurance that you take out is about $35 a month, and a lawyer's on standby 24/7. So if I have to defend myself, I'm more than likely going to go to jail. To where 10, 15, 20 years ago, it wouldn't have been that much of an issue.
No.
Now they're so against people with guns because we're the enemy. You know the rest of the story.
Yeah.
It's all part of the agenda, but it's like I said in the other video, I'm going to carry. I've always carried, and I'm going to. It doesn't matter whether they make me a criminal. I already am one, so that's fine.
Well, that's pretty cool to have a lawyer on retainer like nonstop, though.
Well, sure, for $35 a month, you can't beat it. You know, I highly recommend it for anybody that carries personally, you know, every day as far as on their person. But that's what I do as a profession. And, you know, again, that's the last resort. That is the absolutely last resort. I've only ever had to pull my weapon twice on my job, and thank God I hadn't had to use it.
Yeah.
Because it is the ultimate deterrent. But when you're dealing with somebody on drugs and they're out of their mind, it's
Yeah,
a,
people
you know,
everyone sees the movies and sees the television shows where you pull a gun and then the people are just stand there amazed and they're like they're going to leave you alone. That never happens, by the way.
it's rare.
It
It's rare.
literally never happens.
No,
okay?
well, that's happened twice in my life, and like you just said, that's the Lord intervening.
Yeah, it ain't work out for me.
No, I understand, and I've
And,
read a million of those stories too.
Yeah. It's like you pretty much have to put them down, and it's like fine, I'll wrestle and fight, but geez, you know.
No, I'm not in the shape to fight. I can still hold my own because I'm well trained, but it's last resort. I use psychology. That's key in my line of work. You know, that's 90% of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you can walk away from a situation, you've won it. So that's what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah, in my case, it was kind of my own property, so I couldn't do that. But
Well,
and I actually ended up calling the police, and the guy
Okay.
left on his own. And then the cop they passed the guy as the police came, and they did nothing. They literally passed the guy, and I said, "Yeah, he's all drugged up and was causing all these problems." I asked him to go. The guy wouldn't go, and he goes, "Oh, you mean that Indian kid?" I'm
What?
like, "Yeah, well, yeah, we passed him on the way up." I'm like, "Oh, all right."
Well,
So-
look, a lot of departments are anti-pursuit too. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just this is 2000 or something. I mean,
I got
it's a
you.
long time ago.
that's interesting.
In North Minneapolis too. I mean, if they want to shoot you, they just say, "Oh, taser," just like they just did now.
Yeah, I hadn't watched that video you put out.
Yeah, you
Thank
probably won't like it because I have comments on that stuff. But yeah,
Well, that's fine. That's fine. You know, you're again. It's opinion. I've been through the system, so I see it in a certain way too. And it's like that's another discussion. You know that we
Yeah.
can have about all that. So false flag or not, maybe. You know, I don't trust anything.
I don't think it was that.
I don't know. I really don't. I hadn't studied it enough, but it's so much of that goes on. It's like,
Well, they picked too many people got fired over it. You know.
no, I get it.
Um,
I get it. Sometimes you got to have a fall guy, especially in light of what's going on now.
Well, in light, I mean, it's off her body cam and she did it.
No, well,
And what was funny though, they say she intended to tase the guy, and it's like she had her gun out the whole time. It's like, so
exactly.
she didn't notice she was holding a Glock. It doesn't make any sense.
Big
And she
difference.
had no reason to tase him for what was going on. She like touched him and he pulled away, and then she was gonna tase him. And I don't know. On that whole thing is like they picked a bad time to do it with the whole George Floyd trial
You
thing going
think?
on.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it's not a false deal, because I think that's just karma. It's like, yo, this particular person happened to be involved in, she was the head of the union, which means when a cop screws up, she's the one who goes out there and defends the police
Sure.
from the people that the police screw up over. The police beat somebody up and don't charge them with anything, and they shoot somebody without cause. She's the
I
one
know
who
all
goes
about
up and defends them.
that. They earn the hate.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I
They do in
believe
North Minneapolis. And like
Well,
I
sure.
say in the video, I can't speak to anywhere, but I know these guys.
Right.
Not exactly, I'm reasonably law abiding, but things that aren't laws, I'm not necessarily going to pay attention to.
That's me.
And the
Right.
police don't like that.
Sure.
They're like, I have a badge. That means I'm better than you now.
You got it. But look,
And
again, if you look up what police and who they are, what the thin blue line really stands for, they take an oath, but they work for the corporation.
right.
And that's the difference. A lot of people don't understand that, because I went through the academy and I've studied a lot about history, and it's all there. They're paramilitary. That's a statement.
Or maybe they are now.
Sure, but people need to look into that. Does that change my perspective? Sure, it has through the years, because I remember back when I was a teenager. How do I put this? People have always been people, right? But society
Sure.
does change. Okay, people along with it. Police merely reflect society. That's what
Right.
people have to keep in mind first and foremost. But cops back in my day would give you a ride to your house. We would walk
Sure.
down the street with our guns, going fishing, whatever. Stop. What kind of gun is it? Oh, that's nice. Have a good conversation. Now it's a total police state, pretty much, and it's changed dramatically. Do I have
Yeah.
a lot of respect for law enforcement? Not as much as I used to, no. Do I believe in defunding them? No. Is it a matter of training? No, has nothing to do with it. Most departments have all the money they need, have all the training they need. They're professionals, so to speak. But I can outshoot most 99% of them all day. They don't study. Certainly not their edict that they're supposed to. But if they work for a corporation and they have a license to kill, that tells me a lot right there. And yes, I do know a lot of good guys that are in that profession. You can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. But it's a corrupt system. It's all
Well,
about money. It's all about control.
and my perception of that is that you can, because when was the last time a cop actually turned in another cop because they were breaking the law?
It does happen, but it's very rare. And I know of a handful of stories. I'll just be
They
honest with you.
and
on
they
that.
usually get rid of the
Rare.
guy who is the one who is telling.
Sure. A lot of
Right.
times. That's true. Because you have to fold. You have to be part of that system. Again, somebody with morals going into politics, going to Washington, going in, anywhere in that system, you're going to get booted out. You're going to get beat down.
Yeah.
Just the way it is. I walked away from different reasons, but I feel for it. Do you have to have it? I think people can self-govern. I really do.
Well,
We've
see,
done
one of
that.
the things that I said in there is that in this day and age, in a country that everyone can have a gun, why do police have guns and carry them around?
Sure.
And they could have them in their cars, and if they're going to a situation where they could be at risk, sure. But if they're going to go deliver, a summons, or if they're going to go pull someone over, or if they're going to do all these things, or if they're going to go, babysit the park when someone's having a protest or demonstration or something, is like, why are you armed to the teeth? That's
Sure. They've
And
been
I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. Okay. I'm
No,
talking
not at
your
all.
your standard, if someone's having a craft show and someone's got signs up for support my cause or something, there's usually police milling around out there. And it's like,
Sure.
the reality of the situation is they really should only be walking around with clipboards, because all they mostly do is take down what happened. so they can file it in with the courts. Very, very rare are they, of course they're going to say that they're a, what do you call it? Like video cameras or something. They stop people from committing crimes.
Sure.
Like if there wasn't a cop there, just people would be committing crimes left and right. And it's like, nah, I don't see that.
Yeah, exactly.
They show up after the fact and file the report, and like someone steals your stuff. They don't stop people from stealing your stuff. They show up and take the report so you can file it with insurance.
Sure.
That's kind of their job. And
right.
Is this like, why are these guys armed and not the people? What is this? What's going on here?
Well, again, it goes back to that mentality. A lot of them see us as being the enemy, hence the police state. Because you've got to kowtow, you've got to bow down and lick the boot.
Well,
and it goes back to critical thinking. Those guys, a lot of them make good money. And yes, there's good people in that system. But my argument's always been, okay, where's the good people that are shedding the light on this corruption?
Well, they want to keep their job.
Well, that's it. That's what it comes down to, man.
The guys that came out about the whole mask thing a year ago, they all got fired.
Yep.
They got their Patreon up and people supported them, but there wasn't too many. Once they got fired, it's like, no one else is gonna come out against anything because their 40 grand a year job is more important than any sense of morality or standards or principles or anything. I want my 40 grand a year.
That's it. It's sad, but you're right. That's true. That is true, man. Because look, when you have the Supreme Court coming out and saying, this was years ago, that they actually do not have to honor that particular side of the oath. And people get that twisted, but it's like, okay, to serve and protect, they're peace officers, right? In theory.
Do they even still have that oath? Or is it
because it's a corporation.
I mean, they're supposedly had an oath to the Constitution, which they may still have to do.
Okay.
But the Constitution is just a corporate directive.
All caps. There you go. Capital.
Yeah.
Big difference, right? That's my point. Because the Supreme Court basically stated this. They don't have to protect you. That's interesting.
Right.
Back to it's a God-given right for anyone, whether you're pro-gun, anti-gun, whatever. To me, if you're anti-gun, it's un-American. If you choose not to carry one, that's, of course, your business. That's your right. But that's the one key element that's kept society as free as it has been.
Yeah, the police
don't realize that. Go ahead.
The police are there to protect the corporation.
You got it.
And they're there to protect the politicians. And that's it.
Well, you've seen all the stand-down orders in the past year.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Really? You're going to go arrest this homeless veteran holding up a sign that says, God bless the vets.
Yeah.
Giving him a hard time for spreading God's love, supporting these men and women. But you can have a particular group of people going out and burn down cities and murder people, but it's okay.
Oh, I had someone comment on that my things towards the police about what they have right now. This shooting happened in the same general territory as where this trial is going on.
Right.
And the police are out there sort of messing with protesters that have been at the courthouse every day. And they try to enforce some kind of curfew on these protesters, right? And they get in a little bit of a scuffle and this and that. And I'm like, well, it's good they burned down the police station because they don't have the right to do that. They don't have a right to enforce a curfew. And these people have a right to be upset about what happened with the George Floyd thing. And that's all there is to it. And then someone says like, well, the police are doing their job and this and that and trying to protect people. And I'm like, look, these very same police stood down when Black Lives Matter,
absolutely,
a foreign terrorist organization,
that's right,
came in and burned down these black people's businesses.
Yeah.
And the police stood down and watched them do it.
Sure.
So the whole thing about, protecting black people and the cops protecting them and all this stuff.
Oh, it's crap.
With the riots, it's all garbage.
Right, sure it is.
It's the politicians and the judges inside that building felt threatened and they wanted the police to try and get the people protesting out of there.
Bingo.
When Black Lives Matter comes, it's a big insurance scam. They just want to burn down the block so they can buy it up for pennies on the dollar. That's it. Police stand down. You can burn your own station down. We don't care because the state will pay for it. The taxpayer can pay for it. They don't
You
care.
got it. You got it. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I can get real deep. Look, it's a double-edged sword. It's a catch-22 for a lot of people because they don't study it or they don't know anything about it, which is fine, but things get deep when you look into it. And what your conclusion at the end of the day is, that's on you. But do I respect it? Not as much as I used to. When I get stopped, which is rare for whatever frivolousness, a tag light being out, whatever, it's complete attitude. It's wrong, and I always stay respectful. That's key. Keep your mouth shut. You don't have to speak to police. That's first and foremost, because you cannot talk your way out of jail. It's not possible.
You could talk your way in real easy.
Oh yeah, you better believe that. So brush up on what you need to as far as the Constitution, what's left of it. And I have found this out. 9 times out of 10, when you're stopped, depending on circumstances, if you're respectful, but you calmly let them know that you know something, that you know what you're talking about, they'll flip the script on you real quick. And it's generally a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's sad that we're at that point, but it's, again, it's the system. It's building toward their end goal.
Oh, and that doesn't work for black people, by the way, at least not in my state.
Please. You look up the statistics, right?
And that was the whole problem with this particular thing with this lady. And the whole stop by the black guy it was totally fishing. It was, this lady is training 2 people and they're just fishing for black people. And when they say why this guy was pulled over, one report says it was because his tabs were expired, but it wasn't his car. Another report says it was because he had air fresheners dangling from the rear view mirror, which isn't illegal in this state. That's Another correct. Report says something different. And then, he was on the phone with his brother and his mother and all these people and everybody. It's like, so you didn't have probable cause.
Well, that's what I was getting
at. And then you pulled him over. And then when you found out who the guy was, the whole thing took like 5 or 10 minutes. He's on the side of the road. Sure. And then they finally figured out that he had a warrant for missing a court date. It's like, so it took you that long to figure out he had a warrant. And that was your whole basis for tasing this guy and all this. And it's like, now that whole story is garbage. It looked to me like, boy, if you're going to want to do something, pop somebody or tase somebody for the thrill of it, that's how you do it. Is go up there and say, "Oh, whoopsie! I thought it was my taser," and
and that's a load of crap.
Yeah, it's sad because that is what it is like in North Minneapolis and in Brooklyn Center. The black people will just get pulled over because they're black, and that's just all there is to it. Yeah, you got to hit your quota. Well, I can probably get 2 or 3 offenses on this guy if I pull him over and make something up. Your tire looked like it was low on air, whatever it happened to be.
Yeah, I understand. It's sad. I mean, we were taught to, what's those saying, using your gut, but we were taught profiling. A lot of people, immediately hear that and they get disgusted with it. But no, that's essentially your gut. That's just reading people. That's using discernment. And that's a judgment for like being streetwise. You know what I'm saying? And that's, go ahead.
I'm all for profiling actually, because it makes sense.
Sure.
However, when people are driving in their car, you can't profile somebody.
Well, it's like the military incident.
It's just a black guy in a car, right? Yeah. It's not a thug on the corner who looks like he's selling drugs. It's a black guy in a car with his girlfriend or whatever. It's like, how do you profile that?
Well, you don't. It's totalitarianism, and we get it. It's sad, but it's like the what was it? He was the LT, I think. It happened maybe a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks out. The guy wouldn't pull over. He tried to find a service station, a lit up, well placed, so we could be safe. Yeah, that's the way it's always been. That's the way we were trained. You don't want to stop anybody out in the middle of the street.
Right.
And people do pose as police. People have been killed and raped because somebody's wearing a clown suit. I get it.
Yep.
So this guy pulls over and it just escalates. But here's my point about all of these things. A lot of it can be avoided. A lot of it can't. But it's back to how much power of that situation do you hold? Comply. No matter what it is, comply. And that's not selling out. Keep your mouth shut if you feel you need to. Again, it depends on circumstances. But if a cop tells you to do something, do it. You're not there to argue with them. And that's not me supporting them or saying, you pesky citizens. No, 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 no. They see you as a pesky citizen. That's bottom line. So the more you cooperate, generally the better off you're going to be. That's just my advice to anyone.
So don't spit on them and roll your window up.
It, man. That's it. You'll have your day in court. And if they mess up, okay, you might get compensated. A lot of people do. There's so many lawsuits every day, it's not even funny.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering how all that's going with the whole courts shut down. I know that they let a lot of people out. All the nonviolent criminals have basically been let out of jail because of our pandemic thing. But the reality is they don't have the money to hold them.
No, they don't.
All the courts are basically shut down, so they can't even bill anybody for anything. And I kind of wonder, are they telling police to even write tickets unless it's a gross actual violation? I got to think no. I got to think that the stuff that's actually getting taken care of now is actual crimes and actual dangerous activity.
I agree.
And not running around trying to tax collect for your $50 ticket and then paying the officer $1,000 to go to the court. I mean,
Sure.
that's the old fraud system. We can't do the old fraud system anymore. We don't have any money. And that's another thing too, is I think that the police department in Minneapolis, they shut it down by 30%. I think that it was just so bloated that it was a good excuse to get rid of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, good as my opinion of it, because just too many police. There's just too many. There's not that much crime.
Yeah, but we need more government.
Even in North Minneapolis and stuff like that, it's mainly gangbangers fighting gangbangers and then boys being boys. As far as innocent bystanders getting hurt, it's yeah, okay, you've got a couple of people who might get mugged coming out of a bar or a strip joint at 2:00 in the morning, but beyond that, no, there is not a whole lot. It's people protecting their turf, so to speak. And
crime levels have actually decreased.
Well, they say they're up by 50%, and it's were you counting Black Lives Matter or what are you counting?
Exactly. What's your source?
I think that when they say it's up by 50%, they're probably taking into the monetary account. So yeah, crime is up as far as arson because you got BLM burning stuff down.
Exactly.
Whereas the monetary value of the stuff that's been destroyed is probably up, but I don't see that murder and robbery is going through the roof.
Right. In general, as in a whole, no.
Right.
You can look at the data points on the statistics, and it's through the years, it's actually gone down quite a bit. So it's steady, but it's interesting. It really is. It's just part of the system, man. It's money and control.
They finally got enough fluoride into us where we settle down a little bit.
My God. People need to look into that too. It was interesting. That was actually something that our own certain officials, I'll just say that, or certain groups, it was outlawed. It was actually banned in this country, like it was in a lot of countries. And I'll just say this, the powers to be allowed it for, I think we know why. And there's truth to that. It actually does aid in dumbing down people and the pineal gland, whatever, it calcifies it. But it's, yeah.
They actually, the federal government will sue you if you don't put fluoride in your water.
You got it.
And that is coming from Governor Jesse Ventura from Minnesota, who knows all about fluoride in the waters. And it always said that it was the city's decisions as to what they want to do with their water supply because it's their water supply. And the feds come in and crack down on the state, and then they all come in there and say, oh, you're ruining the health of people and you don't have a right to choose what's in your water and you need to fluoridate or you're going to get all these sanctions.
How about that?
You take these little, I think it was Hibbing, Minnesota, which has probably got 20,000 people in it. And you take a town like that, who's going to fight the federal government and the state? No, they're going to fluoridate the water and forget about what the people want,
Sure.
And that's how it is. So if you think that there's some sort of conspiracy around that, it's why would the federal government be so interested in what's going on in Hibbing, Minnesota with 20,000 people in it and the state of their water? And how did they even find out? Right? Is that really that big of a deal? Because people have wells all over, right? And in the United States, vast amounts of land, vast, vast, vast. And as soon as you get 5 miles outside of the city, you probably have a well. You're not on city water anymore. So why does the federal government care so much that that city center has got its fluoride? Well, there's where the little mind control stuff is. You got all your
Bingo.
5G in there, you got your fluoride in there, and you got to make sure you got a real good test bed to make sure that, okay, how are the people in Hibbing going with the DARPA mind control? Okay, how are people in Duluth? How are people in Minneapolis, right? They have all these little test beds where you got to make sure that all of that garbage, all the tyranny is consistent across the board.
Right.
And you could be 5 miles outside of town with your well and no 5G and no nothing, and be in a totally different world and a totally different as far as the stress levels and all of that, what do they call that? Electronic pollution,
That's
EMF. You can be 5 miles outside of that. The people inside the town are gonna be completely different mindset and attitude.
Yep.
And you get sensitive enough to it from being out. You can actually almost feel it when you go into the cities. Like you can just like the magnetic frequencies off or something. I don't know.
That's it.
But yeah, they gotta make sure all that's in there because it's to make your teeth better, right? Isn't that the thing?
Sure,
because the government cares about you. They want to make sure you got them pretty pearly whites.
We're from the government, and we're here to help.
That's right. That's all they do.
And look, they've even made it illegal to capture rainwater at your own home.
Yeah, in some places.
There you go.
And in some ways, the little town that I'm in, they're quite they're goose stepping commies. But at the other token, they actually because they're environmentally pure wastewater system is so horrible because it's an environmental nightmare, right? It's one of these, it's the equivalent of the toilet that flushes with using like 2 cups of water. It just never works.
Yep.
Ever works. You always have to come.
Look, I've replaced so many of those toilets for people. It's not even funny.
Right. And that is the sewer system in my town. And it's the most expensive bill that I have for the house is the sewer, just the pipe. Because they also know that you can't get away from that one. I could have Culligan drop off 1,000 gallons of water every month and it would be cheaper than what my bill is. But you can't get away from the hole in the ground, can you? No. So they stick the bill on that. But I will say, because that system is so horrible, you know what they do instead? They give you a sweet discount on rain barrels because they don't want the rainwater rushing into their sewer system. And they consistently go around and pick up all the branches out of the street and all the leaves out of the street and all this stuff to make sure that their precious, delicate little environmental sewer system doesn't get clogged. If like if a paper cup makes its way down the drain, oh, heaven forbid, the whole sewer system will back up, right?
Yeah. The system's insane, man.
So at least in this town, I don't have to worry about the rain barrel problem. I'm doing my part by protecting the sewer system by holding on to my rainwater. But
yeah, because we're all in this together.
That's right. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, some people think that the whole reason they're trying the whole cootie virus thing, they're trying that whole thing is because the environmental thing isn't working.
Well, you know what?
The narrative.
Schwab even said that this was the new Green Deal. So you tell me.
Is that who said that?
Oh yeah, he's one of them. He's one of many. But it's again, it's the elites spelling out their plans. It's right in front of you, like the old Illuminati board game. People scoffed at that for years, but when you do a double take, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You see, I don't know, because like looking back, 15 years or something. Normally these plans are out there for like 50 years, 100 years or something.
Sure.
And this particular thing that's going on now almost seems like a kind of a recent concoction. That 2010, the Rockefeller report thing. But even being immersed in conspiracy stuff, that wasn't even really even talked about at all. It's almost like an audible. Where it's like, oh, they're not going for the global warming and the polar bears on the ice chunks or whatever.
Yeah.
They were
So
saying that the polar bears are all going to die because the ice is melting.
that's it.
And then then someone had to tell them, yeah, polar bears swim. They actually
Thank you.
swim. They
And
spend a
hey,
lot of their time in the water.
exactly. And when I was a child, look, back in the 70s and 80s, the speech for a while was, guess what? It wasn't global warming or climate change, because we all know they had to change that term because global
Right.
warming, that's easily proven false. But climate change, nobody can argue that because it's a natural event, it's a natural process. So they're
Yeah.
real slick, so they think. But it was I say child, and I'm like, really?
You cut out. What was that?
Ice Age was the big talk back when I was a
Ice
kid.
age.
Oh yeah,
Really?
yes sir.
They said there's coming ice age, like global
You got
cooling.
it. You got it.
I remember acid rain briefly.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
like, we got to beware of acid rain. Like, where's that going on? They're like, somewhere in Africa. And I'm like, I don't care.
I think it was another mishap at Fukushima.
It's like I was supposed to care about them cutting down the rainforest. And I'm like, well, I don't live in the rainforest. What do you like? Oh no, but all of our cures and all of our stuff, it comes from the rainforest. I'm like, yeah, I don't live there. I don't care.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, pretty much.
I'm
Pretty
like,
much.
we got trees here. We're fine.
That's it.
It's like everything, that's one thing that has happened with the whole globalism thing is that everyone thinks that international and worldwide affairs is like everybody's business. And it's like, no, it's not. It doesn't matter what is going on in Europe. It really doesn't. I
Yeah.
mean, is it really affecting people today that what's going on in China and all the oppression there? Obviously not, because you still buy their GI Joes. You still buy their crappy products. You don't care that it's all Chinese slave labor and the kids, the babies are chained to the fences and stuff. Nobody cares about suicide nets around the buildings. Hey, no one cares. So, but
Desensitization.
if a polar bear is floating on an ice cube because, all the land melted out from under him, then that's our problem. And yeah, I
Yeah,
guess I don't know. I just don't understand that whole disconnect where people think that they can ignore this stuff over here, but then stuff like global warming is our problem. And it's like the CO2 thing, of course, is stupid. But let's just say that
well, sure it is.
all of the things that they say are bad, we just stop doing in America. Well, that's not going to stop China. That's not going to stop Britain. It's not going to stop Germany. So what are they trying to do here? China already is part of, I think China is like one of the heads of the environmental stuff in the UN. And the China is they'll agree to anything as long as they don't have to abide by the agreement.
You
So
got
they
it.
sign everything.
Sure.
They're also the leader of the human rights part of the UN.
Yeah, isn't that
Okay.
rich?
And they're the most totalitarian on the planet. I mean, it's like, yeah, this is the beast system, guys. So yeah, everything is turned upside down. So if you think that some position like a doctor or something is supposed to know what they're talking about, remember this is the beast system. You probably should double check that.
Bingo.
That's all there is to it.
Very well put. That's true. No doubt. No doubt. Beast systems all around us. Whether or not you want to take part in that, that's up to you. But if you're born again, there's no worries.
Yeah, and obviously people have to put up with a beast system to some extent because it's
Sure.
everywhere. I mean,
Sure.
we're talking on the internet right now. There's a beast system for you.
We're not of the world. We're just passing by. I get it, but we have to be here.
Yeah, make the best of it.
That's it, man. That's
Make
it.
the best of it or go be an Amish guy.
I'm working on it.
They never mess with them guys. They must have really figured out that whole maritime law thing or something.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
It must be because they never accepted and they never volunteered for any of their garbage, Oh, I need a license to ride my horse and buggy? What? They didn't put
Yeah.
up with any of that.
Of course not. Yeah, it's
I'm sure they took every single thing that anyone ever tried to ticket them for to court with like their 100 family members, right? All
Yeah,
as witnesses.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. They refused to take the blue pill,
Yeah, that's good for them.
Sure. Better believe it. Everybody else is just indoctrinated with the system,
Yeah, sadly, they're coming that way too now. Finally got them. The cell phone was just too much. It was. And
Oh,
it
my
just,
spirit does, man.
yep, it just nabbed their kids with the cell phone, and that was it.
Yeah, what do you do, man?
I don't know. I have huge hope for Generation Z or whatever it is. The people who, they know they don't have much to look forward to, right? They know that all that crap that we were fed, like, oh yeah, you go to college for 4 years and get a good job, and then get yourself a house and a boat.
Kids, 2.3 kids.
And yeah, and they're not, that crap was a lie even to our generation.
You better believe it.
And now I think Gen X is actually telling Gen Z, hey, that's a lie. Whereas the generation before us did not tell us that.
Yep.
So I have real hopes for them because they're not watching television. I think all this stuff comes down to television.
You better believe it.
And the television shows that they're actually broadcasting now people are wearing masks and doing all of the propaganda, the tyranny 1984 crap.
They live.
And I don't think people can discern that that's not like the way people are living. They think that's real life. I think that I don't know.
Well, that's the whole point.
People are in la la land.
Sure. Social conditioning. I mean, it's they know what they're doing. These elites know us better than we know ourselves,
Well, I mean, people, in some regards, people don't, I would say before this age of the kids growing up on the internet, because like Generation Z, why I have hope for them is like they don't watching television, right? Don't they play around on the internet and like watch YouTube and look at funny memes because there's so much truth in memes.
Sure.
Right? Like the best way to attack the system is actually through a meme because everyone knows it's true, even if people are like totally anti the anti-maskers, right? And are on that, they'll still laugh at a funny meme.
Right.
And they'll some point of their brain registers that, yeah, it's all a joke. It's all funny, this whole thing. And I think that generations just can't be fooled as much, because we grew up on TV, totally.
You better believe it.
Yeah, cable was like a brand new thing.
Yep.
Cable wasn't mainstay until like 2000. Where like most people had cable because then the internet started coming into the houses as high-speed internet and stuff right around 2000. Yeah, and that's when most people had cable because it was free. You got internet and cable was like $5 more. They give you cable television.
You got it.
But before that, it was all rabbit ears and all this, and that was what you did. That was what you did with your time was you watched television. Yeah. Dukes of Hazzard, right? Yeah, Dukes of Hazzard.
Hill Street Blues. That's it, man.
Yeah, there you go. And who knows what all stuff that was in those old programs, what that was prepping us for. But I imagine probably what we're talking about right now. If we look back,
I think you would be right, Max.
I mean, if we watch some of those old shows and you notice, I never noticed Bo and Luke Duke were wearing masks. Where did that come from? Right.
Welcome to the digital age, right?
Right.
Mandela effect or not?
Yeah, I don't know too much about that. It always confused me. And so I don't know. Anytime anything's too complicated for me, I just go, God is not the author of confusion and just leave it.
Thank you.
And that's all I have to do with that.
Well, I mean,
I'm not slow by any means. And like, I try and work logic in there. And if I cannot understand what somebody is trying to tell me with something, I'm going, I don't know. And it doesn't mean that the person's not right. It's just I can easily excuse it by, well, it's not my time yet. It's not my time to learn that.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, supposedly this came from a witch. Her name was Fiona Broom. Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, what I've seen about the Mandela effect, because I never really fell for it, I looked into it just like most people, and I was like, what's going on? What's all this chatter about? Is that it's satanic, it's a psyop to directly attack the King James Bible. That's what I get from it. I've seen a lot of people do videos on that. So it's just like anything else, man. It's just part of the whole Matrix deal, just to put doubt in your mind. That
was a real big deal a few years ago when they came out with a new version of the NIV or a new version of this or that. And that was where that James White character came from. where he's just paid just to go attack the King James.
That's it.
And that's it. That's all his job was, and that was to sell Bibles.
You got it.
And that was just a marketing ploy, I guess.
Absolutely, I agree with that. 100.
I'm still pretty sure the King James is still #1 seller, but it's too bad that people think that there's not much difference. And it's like, well, they couldn't put a different name on the book if there were the same thing.
You got it. Copyright and money, but there's a bigger agenda at play, and most of us get that too.
You would almost think that you'd almost think that they are happy with the King James out there because it's the truth. And that way they have plausible deniability saying, well, you had the truth right there. It's not our fault, you know?
Sure. It's that legal issue between Satan and God. But, Satan's got his work to do, but God's only going to allow a certain amount of that. So,
I think unless you volunteer for it, which is what I was curious about is like, at what point is it that people are no longer volunteering for it? And where is that point where you're still mind controlled and you don't have the capability of escaping it? You don't have a choice at that point, and you think that there would be some retribution from God at that point. And so maybe everybody, I've always been under the impression that generally everybody knows that all this stuff going on is kind of a hoax and a farce, and they're kind of playing along for whatever their own personal reasons are. And, maybe people are filled with so much shame they like wearing masks. Maybe people have a financial vestige in that they don't want to see their 401k disappear. So if they keep up the act for a little bit longer, we can keep it going. People will put up with it because of their job, who knows? But it seems to me if that many people are legitimately tricked into like losing their lives, like wholeheartedly, just completely blindsided, that you'd have some judgment come in for the people that are perpetrating it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It really is. It's
maybe it just hasn't been long enough. Maybe we'll see that.
I see a lot of people waking up. I think there's more awake about a lot of things that's going on in the world now, especially because of the internet. Again, it's a double-edged sword, but you know where I stand, just like all of us. The only red pill anybody ever really needs to take is that of Jesus Christ and his salvation. That's it. Other than that, it goes to the conversation of a reprobate mind. I don't see in scripture where somebody or God can bring that person back. You know what I'm saying from that? Because to me, what I get out of it, as long as you're alive, there's hope for you.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, what you've done. That's the whole point of the gospel, So I don't know. It's interesting, but like you said, man, it's baby steps. People choose. It's willful ignorance for the most part. And then on the other side, like with the mask deal, I work around it every day. I refuse to wear one.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with that battle, and I won it. And it's like, okay, go about your day.
How did you end up winning that one? Just saying, nah.
Personal autonomy. That's all I said is personal autonomy. I said, You can't do that because you have to make accommodations, and you're not willing to do that. So therefore, you're breaking my legal constitution as far as medical constitution. So, if you know the words and you do it right with them, it's all about the wordplay. Then there you go. There you go, man. And it's really laid back in this state anyway. You've got your mindless people that still drive by themselves in the car with a mask on.
Well, it's just, we have it here all over the place. It's just interesting that no one considers, HIPAA laws and that it's illegal to even ask somebody about their medical condition.
You better believe it.
And it's not just a little bit illegal, it's hugely illegal.
Right.
Because HIPAA covers anything from small things like, asking about particular conditions or something like the mask thing or whatever, to basically you get the same charge if you look up someone's medical records and say, so-and-so's got herpes. I saw their medical record, which is pretty darn bad. And like put that on the internet, right? Which is a felony. Sure, it's basically the same thing if you coax some other information out of people that they don't want to give you, something like I can't wear a mask. Well, why not? You got asthma, something like that. Right. It's the same offense. It's like $50,000 fine or something. It's huge.
Right. Sure.
And people think like, oh yeah, it's just, why don't you wear your mask? Just put it on and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's a huge deal. Because you're already talking about, you're basically already presenting your medical condition just even by wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or anything like that.
Right.
And no, that whole thing is, there's going to have to be some laws out there that circumvent HIPAA rules and regulations and things. And that'll be interesting because they just put HIPAA rules through. Like I was working on
Right.
that stuff 10 years ago. That's
Right.
brand new.
I got you. Yeah. I helped my mother study for those courses when she used to work for private doctors 10, 15 years ago. So I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's they're not taking anything away from you. People are giving it away.
Right.
That's the difference.
Well,
you know?
everyone wants things to be easy, and it's like, no, you're going to get hassled for doing the right thing all the time. That's
Sure.
just how it is.
You got it.
And no one's going to stick up for you. Is that why people don't have a problem with the government? Is because they think the government's going to come save them from something? It's like, no. You gotta stand up for yourself. You gotta go out and get your own information, and you gotta walk your own path. And you can use the footsteps that people have laid before you, but you have to walk down the path.
That's right.
And that's how it is.
And
if you want, depending on people to handhold for you, you're gonna get yourself in trouble because you're just asking to be taken advantage of.
You got it. Absolutely, Max. Absolutely.
Frank's here. He says the Mask of the Beast.
The Mask.
Talking about how old we are, Frank, I think you're younger than me, and Jack's older than me. So,
what's up, Frank? How's it going? My second favorite Canadian.
What was your first video game system? For me, I played the 2600, but I didn't own one. I owned a Nintendo, the very first, the one from 1987.
Oh wow!
And
mine was ColecoVision. That's how old I am.
Coleco? He mentioned Coleco. I don't even remember what that was.
Oh wow! Basically, a glorified Pong, and a couple of other games with it.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty high tech for the day. This was mid 70s, late 70s, maybe 77, 78, maybe.
So it was competition to the Atari.
Oh man, not even close.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was awful, man. It was.
Yeah, but Atari wasn't much better than Pong.
No, but
it had like 4 colors though.
Yeah, that's it. What 4-bit? I think.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was high tech to us. I mean, we're kids. We're used to playing out in the woods and actually using our imaginations, and not having all today's crap for distraction. Thank God. But long live the 80s. Yes, it had its problem, but it was a magical time.
Did you used to pretend you were a spaceman?
Oh, I still do. What are you kidding? I still have dreams I can fly, man. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Getting older, but not growing up. I think that's the old saying, you know.
What do you got there, Frank? Give Critical Mess the credit for all our knowledge. Yeah, I don't know. Did that guy? I
love it.
Did that guy must have gone away? I haven't heard anything about him. But then
Word
again,
of the day is pride.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Critical Mess. I'm assuming he is as he is.
I sent some Jesuits after him.
Yeah.
You know, it's again like we spoke. People quit being divided over this stuff and do not give these kind of people your attention. You know, there's better things to do.
Yeah, and anytime anyone brings up like the greater good type stuff is like, you got to think greater good for who?
Yeah, in context. You know,
Yeah.
Is it your own mental health, or is it what are you doing?
Because they're always using the terminology that you will take it a certain way. That sounds like a great thing for you, but no, the terminology that they're using is good for them.
Right.
As to how they're going to use it.
You got it. You got it. A lot of narcissists out there, you know, but he's messed up in a lot of areas, just like a lot of people are. We all have our faults. I get that, but we're primarily as a community, we're like-minded and for good reason, you know. Defend what you need to, pick and choose your battles. But as far as people like this, leave it alone, mark and avoid them, because it's just a waste of time. If you're not getting through to somebody, we all know when somebody's earnest in a conversation. And if you're not getting anywhere, move on. I had to learn that years ago, you know. I'll jump in every now and then if I feel it necessary, depending on the topic. But other than that, it's like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I got off Facebook for the very same reason. It's another time sucker. You know, it was craziness.
I think I was one of the first people on Facebook. And I was also one of the first people off Facebook.
There you go. There you go.
I think it came out in 2008, and I'm pretty sure I was on it in like 2006, 2005.
Okay.
It was YouTube? Yeah, it was YouTube that came out 2008, but I think Facebook came out 2005, and I was in a beta test for both Gmail and Facebook.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and as Facebook, I'm like, wow, this takes up a lot of time, and I got video games to play. I'm done.
That was me. You better believe it. That's when SOCOM was hot and heavy, so I had to make time.
Yeah. Yeah, early 2000s. That was the very, very beginnings and the births of like MMOs for real because you had high-speed internet.
Sure. I mean, to me, it was the best invention next to the wheel. That was my first online game experience, and I was just in awe, man. I was just, I was a walking zombie. Like I say, for about the first 3 years of it, I had no sleep.
Yeah.
Running a business, playing video games, living with Dad. And he used to make fun of it, but he was a cool guy. He just got a kick out of it. He would come back there and watch me play and just look at me, shake his head.
Yep.
31 years old playing. But dude, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Well, no, I mean, it's something that you're not going to understand it unless you grew up with that stuff.
You got it. Perspective. Sure. That's it, man. That's it. Did I waste time with it? Sure. But, we can all say that about a lot of things. I used to be that Hollywood guy. Man, I had 20,000 DVDs for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That's insane. Used to make really good money, ran my own business, worked hard with it. But, I look back on it, I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
I still like a good movie from time to time, but I don't even have a cable box. Yeah. I hadn't had one of those in 15 years, 12. I have rabbit ears. All I need is the internet. That's it.
You're addicted to the internet.
Actually, yeah.
You need that mark of the beast.
Oh, man. You know what? That's a good point, Max. Something else we need to cover. Yeah, maybe we're being indoctrinated with that through the internet, maybe.
Well, I'm saved. That's fine.
That's it. Amen.
I listened to MacArthur said I'm good anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the Pope saying everybody's going.
Did he? Did he actually say that?
Oh, yeah, man. I followed a lot of that stuff for years, about the extraterrestrial stuff that he would push, and he's just way out there. But what do you expect from a Jesuit? That whole system is just insane.
I didn't realize he went as far as to say everyone's going to heaven because that kind of blows away their whole purgatory system and pay your way into heaven. Well, I mean, no wonder the guy's requesting donations.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Do you see that about a month ago? The Pope put out a thing requesting donations because the Catholic Church has been hit hard due to COVID. Please. And then you look up, Catholic Church wealth, Vatican wealth. You look that up, and an article from a week before talks about how much they have thousands of tons of gold they have. They're the richest entity on the planet.
You got it.
But we've been hit hard because of COVID. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. He'll have to answer for it,
I don't know. That falls into the same category as the shape of the earth thing, where after a certain point in time, you're like, how do people follow this still? And you look around and the Pope says something dumb that's obviously heretical, and you kind of look to the left and look to the right, and no one even notices. And I'm like, oh well.
I know it just I don't get it, Max. I don't get it. Being a respecter of persons, I think, comes into play to a point. And then the religious aspect, as far as organized religion, I have to do this A, B, and C. I get it. More indoctrination, but Jesus is the only one that can make you free.
Yeah.
That's it. But people have to study. Anybody can go to a church and look nice and tithe, but where's your heart at in it? That's the key.
I'm surprised the Catholics actually do tithe. What's funny is my friend, he's you would call him a hardcore Catholic because he actually had his wife convert and actually gives 10% of his income to the church, but never goes to church, doesn't follow any moral code or anything other than being a reasonably okay, nice guy, but he doesn't follow any church practices or anything like that. But, I guess in his mind, he's cool because he paid his 10% and off he's good to go.
Yep. I hear it all the time from people around me, in just general conversation. It's like, yeah, I'm a pretty good guy. I think I'm good. Oh, really? Based on you're a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
Wow. maybe check out these scriptures. You know, it's interesting. It's not
Well, it's
American.
kind of one of those things. It's like, do you think you were better than Jesus? Well, no, obviously. And it's like,
Exactly.
well, then you're not going to heaven.
Period. That's why,
Right.
again, that's why he said, few would find it. Many in that day, Lord, Lord, didn't we do wonderful works in your name? Cast out devils in your name. That's the key word, works. They were relying on themselves and what they did, or a system, or whatever. Everything but what Christ did at Calvary. That's a real simple passage. You know?
Yeah.
That's it, man. And again, guys, people cannot send you to hell. It's a volitional thing. There is no alien hybrid, this, that, and the other. Trust me on that.
What do you think about sending yourself to hell if you're saved?
It's not possible.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Well,
I'm kind of like, yeah, when you're saved, you can't even send yourself to hell, because then God would still be a liar.
Well, I don't know now. If you do just enough wrong, what was that double list from Father Brian? What will a Christian do or not do?
What will a Christian not do?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. We're going to dig up that list, and we have to have a double blind study or something.
If you fall out of fellowship and lose favor, you're capable of doing anything because we're sinners, period.
Right. And like,
not me saying, okay, now you have a license to sin, go sin. No, that's crazy. I have convictions.
Yeah, I mean, I think I came to that conclusion a long time ago, actually, with the whole, you can't even really send yourself to hell with that, and just logically the way it works, because there's people out there that would say that like suicide is like an unforgivable sin.
I've heard it off.
Sure. And I'm like, why would you think that?
Because it's something you've done. You lost your salvation, or you wasn't saved to begin with, because we all know a true born-again believer in our Lord Jesus Christ would never take their life. That's BS.
Yeah, that's total garbage.
You better believe it.
And and one big proponent of that, of a guy I used to listen to, is Mike Hoggard. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, you just seriously say that, you're going to tell somebody whose family is victim of somebody who committed suicide in their family, and you're going to tell them, well, they're in hell now. I mean, come on. And that's,
well, Max, you were the very guy, if you remember, years ago now, about when we first got together, they had pointed out key things about Mike Hoggard, because I followed him big time.
Yeah.
And, the forest for the trees again.
Right.
It's like, Jimmy, do you realize A, B, C, and D? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Interesting. Okay. So, yeah. I appreciate that. Learned a lot from the guy, again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's sincere in the stuff that he talks about.
Sure.
He just doesn't, I don't know. I don't think he spends his time really studying really deeper theological stuff. I think he just kind of rolls with what he rolls with, and he has a lot of hobbies.
That's it. I agree with that. I really do. That's it. We're all here to learn, man. Just dig in and trust in the Lord. Like Max said a while ago, just live your life, man. What you can't control, or don't worry about it, Lay it at the cross like we do every day, but we have a tendency to go back and pick it up. That's the problem. I'm guilty of that too.
Don't worry about it. Stay productive.
There you go.
Keep moving forward.
And that's it, man.
If you have a list of things, do one thing on your list before you play video games. Do one thing.
It's about 20, but yeah, I get it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, some days I don't do much of anything, and I try and put something on a list just to say I did something. But
it's
30
on Mondays.
It's 35 degrees outside, man. What am I supposed to do?
I'll hack and mod. I'll do some electronic stuff. I don't have a lot of time for it, but that's where one of my passions is trying to, invent or make something or whatever.
Yeah.
And, between taking care of mother and work, it's interesting. I find myself going back to online. That's just my passion. Being on the internet. I watch one or two shows. That's it. I don't really care about that anymore. All that's garbage to me. So, again, my hobbies are guns and our community for the most part. I take care of my mother and I go to work, and that's it. You know, I try to take care of my family and do things for who I can and don't worry about it.
Yeah, all that ammo will come in handy when the hordes come to.
I don't know what you're
when they're-
talking about, Max. I lost everything in a boating accident.
There you go, boating accident. That's too bad. Yeah, I lost my nano ledger too with all my crypto. It's a boating accident.
It happens, man.
It happens. It does. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the lake's only been thawed for like a week and it's already had an accident.
Yeah.
That's why my insurance is so high. That's okay.
Well, you know, I'm going to try to get with a friend and we're going to go back to the lake and try to recover some of it. You know, wish me luck.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, all the masses with their masks growing up like little zombies across the field, telling you what you need to do and for their protection. And that's going to be interesting to see if they keep rolling with that. Because I think, you know, I saw this a couple of months ago that I think by and large, the middle of the road people who are going along to get along aren't caring too much about the mask thing anymore. And I don't think they're pushing that narrative. What do you think this summer? You think they're going to fire it back up, or do you think we're going to go back onto riots?
I think it's going to be a combination. It's relentless, you know. It's order out of chaos.
Rioters with masks on to be good, obedient rioters.
Yeah, all bets are off.
Yeah.
You know, they have a playbook, so we'll see how it goes.
Looks like Frank's listening to Mike Hoggard too. See, we all know, we all run in the same circles. We almost type into YouTube King James Bible pastor.
That's
and then we all get Mike Hoggard. Yeah.
The mix, everybody I've talked to. Yeah, oh, Mike Hoggard. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of conspiracy stuff with that guy. You know, I followed him for maybe 2 years.
Oh yeah, same here. You know, some of that stuff is good. I mean, he does his regular stuff and then he does his nutty stuff, you know, and he kind of tells you it's going to be nutty when he titles his streams.
So, that's right, man. That's right.
Yeah. He's always a big one for looking at hexagons on all the boxes at the store. And it's like, okay, every week we found more hexagons. It's like, yeah, dude, imagine that. Look at all these shapes. They're everywhere. Yeah. Yeah. Watchmen broadcast. That's what it is.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's it. So should we care about these things? You know, does it enlighten? Keyword, you know?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting, but it doesn't really serve a useful purpose. Whereas something like learning about admiralty law and how that stuff works, it kind of serves a purpose. It's more useful than just going, oh, look, this company's a Satan company. It's like, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, they all are Satan companies. It's like, oh boy, the sky is blue and water's wet, and they're a Satan company. Oh boy,
and the Earth is flat.
There you go. Oh ho! Now, I saw that video with the golf cart, and oh no,
you're gonna have to do better than that.
And we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour.
When I saw the moon last week, I told you and Amy about this, and I saw clouds go behind it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I had to do a double take, you know. I was like, okay, are you really that surprised, Jimmy?
That's right.
You know, the light bulb kicked in, and I was like, well, okay.
And then you're going to tell somebody, and they go, well, you don't have a picture? You don't have a camera? You know, it's going to do the whole Bigfoot thing or something. Not that I'm saying I'm believing in Bigfoot. I'm just saying it's like, yeah, these things happen, and it's, you know, you see it once or twice in a lifetime. You know, if you're looking for it, maybe, but you just happen to notice it, and you happen to be spiritually aware enough to even realize what you're seeing, because people look up in the sky every day and they don't notice that the sun and the moon are in the same part of the sky at the same time.
Well, God said he put them both in the firmament, and they both put out their own light. So, okay, God's not a liar. I get it.
Hey.
I get it.
And like, it's daytime. You can see the moon in the daylight. And then at night, you can see the moon again, and it's a full moon. And it's like, wait a minute.
It's reflected sunlight. How does that work?
It's supposed to be the shadow off the earth and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, none of that works.
No, it doesn't.
None of that works. If you actually think about it for 2 seconds, none of that stuff works.
Right. Water goes to level, like I told you, was my main thing. That's what
water goes to level. You can see too far. And how come you can look out at the stars, and then 6 months later, you can look up at the exact same place in the sky, and the stars are exactly the same in the exact same place? When if you follow their model, we should be looking at a completely different portion of the sky 6 months later.
Thank you.
But every 6 months, it's always the exact same thing.
Sure. Stellar drift, progression. I get it.
Oh, all that crap. And you got this thing about, well, the North Star is just so far away, it just appears to sit in the center of the sky. And it's like, okay, that's fine for the North Star. But then you also have the Orion or whatever that also sits in the same place of the sky around the equator. So now you have two objects that never move from their position in the sky. What are you going to do with that? Oh, it doesn't work. That's right. That's right.
Yes. And we're hurtling through space in a spiral at 70,000 miles per hour.
Right.
Okay.
Spinning 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. Planes have no problem riding around the ball, even though their gyroscope tells them they're level. Like what? How does that work?
Well,
and submarines also, and
sure.
ships that use lasers that shoot other ships 100 miles away on a ball.
Out of sight.
Yes.
Look, I'm a long range shooter. I've been around this stuff most of my life. I've never once had to calculate any Coriolis.
Coriolis, man.
Never.
Doesn't exist.
Wasn't taught to me. Never studied it. It's wind. It's a lot of different factors. It's elevation, sure, but it's what they'll try to tell you in the argument. That's not true. Because I'm shocked. Go ahead.
Did you see the flat Earth where they had an artillery guy who was a retired artillery person who had never even heard of what Coriolis was?
You got it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think people always talk about Marine snipers. It's like, no,
I know too many of them. That's not a factor. Trust me on that.
And it's funny, the rotation.
I'll come down to a debate on something like that. I'll do that with anybody as far as weapons or trajectories. I'm that guy. So call me up.
So like the rotation of the Earth is going to affect this little tiny bullet, but it doesn't affect jets, doesn't affect birds, doesn't affect footballs flying through the air, but it affects the bullet somehow. Just the bullet.
Interesting.
It's like, maybe it's because the bullet is spinning. Could be. Maybe.
Rifling's all about, you know.
You
got lands and grooves inside of a weapon for a particular reason. That's for accuracy.
Right.
That's for aerodynamics. But here's another thing that got me. It was like, okay, you have video footage of rockets that are being launched. They go up to a certain altitude. We're talking miles here. I don't see any rotation of the Earth.
Right.
Okay.
And then they fall over and go into the ocean.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a big one. And people say that, oh no, they're like syncing up with the Earth's rotation or something. It's like, no, they don't even look to be going as high as really high 747 jets. They look remarkably low in the atmosphere before they tip over and fall in the ocean. And that would make sense because they're really, really heavy. Right. And what is it? The ionosphere, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to have a heat level that is so high. And when I ran across that one, that was another key red flag for me. I was like, wait a minute. What does the textbook say about that? But yet this flimsy material can survive that, let alone people. Give me a break. You know, then Operation Fishbowl, really looking into that, it was like, okay. Yeah, they called it Fishbowl. I mean, why else would you name a military thing Fishbowl?
Right.
And they did like two or three of them within like a couple of years to go out there and launch nukes at the dome.
Absolutely. You know, it's like rainbows. Why are they perfectly curved the way they are? I mean, is that a magnetic effect? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Clouds are flat. Clouds are perfectly flat when I see them, when they form water.
Yeah.
They're flat all the time, every time. So, there's a million different key points, just like the moon landing crap. If you different, it's like those saying real eyes, real lies.
Right.
It's discernment. It's a way of looking at things.
Well, I don't know how people get around the thing of like, I'll never understand this in any of these debates. When you have a picture that has the GPS of this oil rig is 15 miles offshore, I am looking at it, 6 feet off the ground, and I can still see it perfectly with nothing going behind a curve that is mathematically impossible.
Exactly.
Right there, that proves the Earth is flat.
Right.
But no.
8-inch drop and then squared after that.
It's 8 inches per mile squared, which means a 6-foot tall person cannot see farther than 3 miles if you're standing at the edge of the water. But if you take the camera, you can take the camera and put it 1 inch off the water. You can still see these oil derrick things 15 miles away. So the whole thing right there is completely debunked. And nope, no one in any debates ever figured that one out. And of course, the flavor of the month for all the flat Earth guys for debating now is that you can't have gas pressure without a container. So we've got this Earth with all this atmosphere going through this infinite void of space at 60,000 miles per hour, spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, and we're all stuck to it, along for the ride, and we're holding in all this air gas pressure. How does that work?
Buoyancy.
I mean, last I checked, you pop a hole in a tire, the tire goes flat, right?
You got it.
So now we have air pressure when there is no tire even. There's no tire at all. It's just air pressure stuck around a rim.
You got it.
It's
and
dumb.
a feather, the way a feather will float. Okay, a better example. The same amount of supposed gravity that's going to hold the Earth's oceans, let alone me and you walking around, and people on the opposite side of the planet as it's spinning, walking upside down from us, right, with the same amount of supposed gravity, is going to allow a small insect to fly.
Right.
Okay.
And that goes back to the author of Confusion with God about what the Bible's written for. It's like, okay, so heaven above, hell below. What is that for Australia? They're all going to hell, right? They're all hoping to get into hell because that's above. They can't figure out where they're going, right?
Well, if they walk toward us, go west, young man. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I suppose. You got to walk around the top and then they could be saved. The Bible only makes sense to us Northerners.
That's funny.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense when you take it into that. And of course, the Bible says very plainly that everything is geocentric with the earth in the center, and all the way through creation, how the sun and the moon are not the same thing as the stars. Joshua stops the sun and the moon. All of it is all heliocentric.
You got it.
But then the book is written matter-of-factly as though it is a flat, stationary plane like a field.
Thank you.
It's always related to everybody as though it's flat, stationary like a field. It says the earth is God's footstool. It says, in the relation to the field, that the angels are going out to the corners to kind of gather up the people like crops and all this stuff. None of that works on a globe, guys. And why would God have to put in there that the earth is not a globe? Because everybody, even as soon as 100 years ago, knew that it was flat, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They were teaching that it was flat in school in America. Okay, so the whole thing is a recent phenomenon that I think they only got away with because of television, the phony baloney NASA stuff, and keeping people's imaginations high so that they can deny God. They can say, well, God, I believed in space aliens. It wasn't my fault, right?
Yep. You got it. The grand delusion, man.
Well, I think that's what it is. This is the great delusion or whatever.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, I can't. How do you think? Is there anything bigger than that? I can't think of anything. Just that maybe God doesn't exist, maybe, but
yeah. Well, that's just an absolute falsehood, and we all know that. Again, going back to Scripture, just nature alone proves His existence, and there you go. It's too.
The invisible things of the world are clearly seen.
Sure.
Or they have no excuse.
You got it. You got it, man. That's it. So look, guys, more than likely pre-trib, mid-trib, wrath, whatever. We're not appointed to wrath. Persecution, sure. But man does not have the ability to trick you or me or anyone into taking anything that's going to rob you of your soul that our Lord and Savior owns. Satan doesn't own anybody's soul. It's like the old saying, they sold out their soul for rock and roll. Okay, metaphorically, there's truth to that. We know that. There's a point in anybody's life to where that you can sell out. But the whole point about that is more lies of the devil, is that you can come back, prodigal son much. There's hope for anyone, period. But just remember, hybrid this, alien, whatever, it's all smoke and mirrors. That's the conclusion I've come up with a lot of years of study. We can't be tricked into this. It's volitional. It's free will. Think about it, people. It's all laid out in Scripture. Be careful who you listen to. Stick to the book. Come on. Discernment.
Yeah, and I haven't been paying attention to chat much, but looks pretty tame. So, I
Oh, that's
guess any questions or anything like that, throw them in the comment section. I don't know. We've covered all sorts of different stuff. I don't know. Is there anything you got left, Jack? You just got to get out there and let people know.
well,
Are y'all good?
yeah, trust in God. I love all of you guys. God bless you. Max, I love you, man. Appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Great, great. We love you too, Jack.
Man, let's do this again.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of we've been going for a couple hours. I don't want to kill your voice, and we're kind of
Oh, that's cool.
slipping from topic to topic to where, at this point, if I started to saying who has questions, we're going to get them from all over the different.
Well,
all
whatever
over the
you want
different
to do,
points.
I'm fine. Whatever.
All right, man. And all right, people. So questions, throw them in the comment section, and all of that. We'll keep an eye on them. And I think for that, we're going to be out of here.
Later, man.